definitely, obviously once spent, and now the objective starts up because Caitlyn's slow on the recall. She greeted. Oh, hang on.
We'll jump in. Oh, early smite.
Big
Sejuani takes it out. Zaka going
And
over the
she's
wall.
out.
Oh, and the Zaya flash over the wall, trying to chase it down. See if they can get any kills here. Huge feather. Oh, into cool. Oh, the feather calls. It was a 2v4, but somehow the Zaya's being so strong here just helps win them the fight.
And they managed to pick up 2 kills.
And like I said, Sammy was on the top side of the map, but he's actually. Oh, he's maybe coming bot lane now. He's just running straight in, finds the first kill onto the Mordekaiser, and now looks to get the third there as well onto the Misfortune. Okay, Sammy Jungles just walks. Okay, all right, calm down.
I think he's showing off a little bit now.
Just finds himself a triple kill. All right.
I mean, unfortunately, wrong place at the wrong time. Need to be killing the tanks.
Well, Sammy Jungles now jumping back onto the back line, trying to see who he can find. Easy Game GG will be able to get that ult down, but the steal comes through from Sammy, and now Harry the Machine trying to put the damage out onto the front line. Gempton is untouched, however, but Rat looks to change that. Rhydona gets the suplex over the wall, and we'll find out 1 kill, and now Rat is dashing down onto the Jhin. He secures himself a triple kill, and Gempton is still alive. Rat looking for the claw, takes it forward. The flash comes through, and he's still alive. It's the heal from Harry the Machine. Will he steal the Penta? Rat not going to be able to go far enough forward as Harry the Machine secures the ace on the Caitlyn and moves into the base.
And that's a huge team fight for Rat. They'll look to just end the game here, but amazing play from him to be able to go in there using that team fight slot Lissandra to its full advantage.
He's looking to recall now because he does have the corners of 3-man knockdown, and now Samwise is moving in onto the back line. Rhydona is untouched and does damage. Harry the Machine is the one doing the damage. He's had himself a double, it's a triple, but he goes down before he can find the Penta. Now it's up to Pappy. He's running it down with the empowered Q. Just a few more autos onto Rat. Is he going to be able to find them? He's not. And it is a 4 for 3 in favor of Portsmouth.
Team fight. Yeah, so how now that MF is going to be part of this team fight, they go try and burst down the Chun. Chun does flash away. Stun doesn't come off from the Sejuani. North now is running just through the team, trying to get MF does hit onto 3.
Huge
damage. Velcro's though trying to apply with his own ult, trying to do the damage. Does end up falling down. How the carries only MF now and trying to alive. Back in the dark and the Velcro's trying to chase down. Will end up being the flash from the MF. Will be able to kite away. That from managed just about to.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, oh, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of a world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high. And we all fight at the last light. Hearing voices from afar. Join the madness when the curtain falls. Risk it all, hold nothing back. Seize the day, we must attack. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding. Only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of a world that we defy. A solar ray.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SouthLAnder 2021 as we make our way into the grand finals for season 2. And we've got Bristol taking on Exeter. I'm Milky Serial, joined by Melvin is all. And Melvin, we've got an absolute titanic clash coming through tonight.
I am very excited for this one. Exeter and Bristol have shown very much so that they have been the most dominant teams in the tournament. We have Exeter as our 3rd seed and Bristol as our 1st, so a pretty somewhat expected final. The only more expected version would have been if it was Sussex coming in, but Exeter 2-0'd them last week.
And we had the privilege of being able to watch that series, and Exeter looked so good. We remember that Swansea came in a lot stronger in game 2, but they were still no match for Exeter. And both Exeter and Bristol look incredibly strong. We got to see Bristol taking down Surrey 2-0 in the quarterfinals. Again, a match that was shown on stream. So both these teams coming in strong, only with one loss over the entire tournament so far.
Certainly so, and this is going to be an interesting one to look into because Bristol have currently been on a bit of a downslope with regards to their newell performance, despite being our most dominant team for the most part. It's going to be, this is the moment for Exeter to try and strike as we're getting ready to hop into Champ Select.
Bristol last week only able to take the 2-1 win over Bath in the semi-finals. They do have that defeat. So over Bristol and Exeter, Bristol are the one, at least in SouthLAnder, who have had that most recent loss and that most recent chip to their momentum.
Certainly so. And looking into this game, some of the key places that I think we should be watching is the jungle. This matchup between Trick2Dia and Gadunica is going to be so essential for the performance of both of these teams. We saw last week Trick2Dia, we named them MVP at the end of the series, finishing 9-0 and 9 on their Evelyn in game 2, and was a pretty pivotal marker for how that team succeeded.
You mentioned the Evelyn. I am interested to see whether the Evelyn will be making its way onto the Rift during this series. Key thing to remember for all of our viewers, unlike the semi-finals and the quarterfinals and the round of 16, the grand finals are best of 5, so not a best of 3, and this does mean that teams have more flexibility to be able to adapt their drafts over the course of the series and get to know the opposition team maybe that little bit better.
Certainly so. Both these teams have had their fair share of screen time on stream, so you've got at least the opportunity to take a quick look at how they play and really try and figure out how both teams succeed. Bristol historically have been succeeding through their top side, sending Gadunica up there with Efan and pretty much just rolling the game from there. Whereas Exeter, it was primarily mid-jungle that brought them so much success last week. So we're going to need to take a look and see which picks are really getting focused out. At the moment, it seems a bit scattered. A lot of just the preferential picks for both teams. We see Exeter taking away the Seraphine on the first pick. I think good choice. And there goes that Udyr, showing that Bristol don't particularly want to first pick it.
As we've mentioned, Exeter's jungle is called Trick 2 here for a reason. You have to get rid of the Udyr. All of the bans make a lot of sense. The only one that kind of stands out to me slightly here, Melvin, is that Bard ban by the side of Bristol.
Yeah, Mafia Goat has been pretty dominant on this pick. It is one of their most played. And frankly, I think one of the reasons they're almost getting rid of it is because Bard is that level of wild card where if you're not ready for it, it can almost just roll a game. And sometimes even if you are ready for it, the Bard is that good. It's just one of those picks where you don't know how it's going to go until you see it. And usually in a best of series, you would actually want to let that through in the first game and see if you can beat it. Because if you can, it shuts it out as a ban, as we see first pick Caitlyn for Bristol.
See the Urgot as the final ban out from the side of Exeter as well. And we were talking a little bit before we came live, what would the ADC method be? Would we be seeing the Caitlyn, the Tristana, or would we be seeing more of the likes of the Senna and Kai'Sa from a few patches ago as the Evelynn is locked in for Trick 2 there?
Certainly so, and this was their most dominant pick last week. We'll have to see what continues through on this draft, but as we take a look on this Caitlyn, important thing to note is that Bristol have historically been almost weak side bot players. They'll play stronger champions in the bot lane, but they don't actually send that many resources down there. It's only been in the past few weeks that they picked up this kind of Caitlyn-Morgana duo that has been ever so dominant for them, as it lets them almost play through every lane at once.
Now, we saw the Yuumi being hovered, and I do want to talk about it because it is so strong with something like the Evelynn, unseen, and then Evelynn able to do so much more burst damage. But for now, the Yone is locked in for the side of Exeter.
Certainly so, and that is a pick that I believe it was Sana played in both of last week's games. There's that Morgana to really show bot dominance. And something that you can already tell is where both teams want to put their resources. Blind picking the bottom lane completely through and through for Bristol just shows that we want this safe, dominant pick. We will get push priority against 90% of lanes, and then it looks like they're going to follow up with a jungle Nidalee into that Evelynn.
Now, you highlighted the fact that Sana did play the Yone in both the games from last week. Was into a Fizz, was able to win the first matchup. Second matchup was somewhat even, and then eventually Exeter were able to take their lead from the other lanes into the mid lane and claim the win. Nidalee locked in for the side of Bristol. We're seeing that Caitlyn-Morgana power duo coming through as well.
Okay, I really like this Sivir pick as one of those options to actually get pushed back into this Morgana Caitlyn. There's very few champions that can even have a hope at contesting these two. And what I'm expecting to see now from Bristol is support bans, things potentially like this Karma that pairs very well with Sivir and would enable them to match the push of their bot lane. We'll have to see where Exeter decide to place their bans, if it's just going to be focusing out top lanes or potentially getting rid of Yone counters in mid.
I want to go back to the whole idea of Exeter locking in the Yuumi, because Yuumi on its own is not exactly a roaming champion. But if he can just sit on a jungler, then yes, it's one of the best roaming champions around. And now that you've got something like a Sivir for the side of Exeter, super safe, will just be able to farm up wave after wave without pretty much any threat of dying. So I like the Sivir pickup. I'm interested to see if the Yuumi will come through, as we're seeing the Tristana and the Rel bans following.
So I think the Tristana is primarily just banned so Chen-Tang can't take that and aggressively just beat up Sana in the early game on this Yone. When they are particularly weak, you could get a big advantage on these kind of just 80s mid that can really pummel into anybody that can't fight back. It's primarily mages you see that played against, but in this case, I get the logic. Rel, an interesting one, as it is Nibble's almost most played champion, I think by quite a fair margin, and they've had extreme success if it ever has been let through. So deciding we don't want to get counterplayed by this, as Morgana can only protect one person, and Rel gets everyone.
Rel can find as many people as she wishes to. You do not dare clump against her. We're seeing the Braum coming through, and it is actually locked in for Mafia. It's called Mafia Goat. Maybe I'll be pulling out the old Mafia Braum as well.
That's an interesting one, because obviously it can be used to block out most of the Caitlyn and Morgana abilities, from the Ace in the Hole to just the binding from Morg. So almost just an interrupt tool that can be used in this lane to buy time for Sivir to be able to get to that mid game, where Sivir really needs to get to about 2-3 items to start popping off. Will likely be this Strange Lethality Muramana build that's been going so well for them that we'll talk about in game. But we do see the Lucian locked in to combat Trick 2D and Sana on this Evelynn Yone combo.
And you talked about the reason why this Tristana was banned away from Chentang. Exeter do not want Bristol to have something super aggressive into Sana on that Yone, and Bristol just say, fine, no worries, we'll just take the Lucian instead.
Yeah, that's a pretty aggressive pick with similar purpose and almost parallel scaling, but a bit more of a lane bully early on as they are safer with the amount of dashes they have. And as we see this last pick, Jax coming through as an answer into the Renekton, this is somewhere that I am very excited to see because Refresh did pop off on the Jax last week. They had a pretty somewhat mediocre first game, but in the second game, they were really running it in the positive sense, by the way. And especially into Ethan, who is normally the primary carry for Bristol, it's going to be a pretty interesting place to watch for this early explosive action.
I do want to take a look at the Bristol composition because I find it very aggressive, and I think that's the right word to describe this. You've got a Renekton in the top lane, super aggressive, wants to be generating a lead. Chentang on the Lucian, same there. Caitlyn Morgana, historically, one of the strongest bot lane duos you can have alongside the likes of Azaya, Rakan, Lucian, Braum, etc., etc. But I now see a case of child walks into bakery, sees loads of amazingly delicious buns, but which bun does Bristol take here?
Well, that's going to be an interesting one. I'm just trying to decipher the analogy for a second there, but I think what you're trying to ask me is where they're going to play through, if I'm not
Exactly, yes.
Okay, good. I personally think this game, it looks like it's going to be through the mid and jungle to try and counteract where Exeter have been showing their primary success. This Lucian Nidalee, frankly, the Lucian Nidalee and the Renekton Nidalee are very common pairings we see at higher levels of play. The Renekton Nidalee makes sense, point and click stun into spear, usually a kill unless you're Yankos. Then for the mid jungle, when it comes to these two, the dual damages make it very hard to itemize any resistances against them in the early game.
And it is the case for Bristol and Exeter, AP jungler, 2 AD solo laners coming through. But I'm very interested about the Jax. I think the Yone we somewhat expected to come through. Yes, we saw Refresh playing the Jax in the previous series. But to me, Jax feels like the one pickup that doesn't feel meta to me. Everything else I can see, you know, the Evelyn, I can take that as this kind of pocket pick, almost like the self-made Evelyn. But the Jax, I don't know if it belongs Melvin.
I think the main logic that Refresh is looking for here is they seemed very comfortable on it last week. It is one of their champions. They love this kind of skirmish style top lane. And frankly, when you're against Effen and Gadunica in this top side, you really do need to be able to take the fight back to them. Because in the games where Bristol have fallen behind, we've seen it's been because this top side skirmish has gone poorly for them early, and then it's been snowballed out of control from there. This is why I think that on the Bristol squad, you see the Caitlyn Morgana as almost a backup pair of carries to play through in case that doesn't go well. Because historically, Bristol would always play bot side, getting pushed in almost as the weak side of the map. But now that they can play through there, it almost gives them a secondary option if this Renekton Jax matchup doesn't go too well early on.
It's an interesting point you bring up as well, because when we were making our notes, we had down Bristol, bot side going to play weak, Bristol won't want to play around their bot side, and then they've gone off and drafted Caitlyn Morgana. And now my head's all in a spin, and I'm thinking, are we going to see Bristol playing around this bot side? Surely they have to, considering they have drafted this Caitlyn Morgana duo.
I think as far as it goes, they've got what is the equivalent of 3 pushing lanes. Top is a bit more flippy depending on how the first few levels go, where Jax can actually clap back against Renekton. Not as well. Renekton is still going to be able to bully in those first few levels. It's just level 1 that it's really a bit different to most Renekton lanes because Jax's Counter-Strike pretty much nullifies any attempt at a big trade. So in the early game, I think unless junglers path their way up to top, don't expect much until level 3, because at that point, both top laners, depending on HP, will be quite confident to look for all-ins. Whereas in this bottom lane, I do agree that it looks like Bristol want to put some resources down there. The only point I'm looking at is because the enemy team has a Braum, it does make it pretty difficult to force with Caitlyn, Morgana, Nidalee, very skill shot-based champions, all of which Braum can nullify.
And you mentioned that it is hard to force, but you also mentioned that these are 3 pushing lanes for the side of Bristol. How much aggression can we expect to see from Gadunica when it comes in terms of counter jungling and being able to invade the Exeter jungle from all of the map pressure that they will have from these pushing lanes?
I frankly hope it's from minute one, because Gadunica really does need to run this game through the just jungle, because if they can put Trick 2D behind on this Evelyn, Evelyn does not do so well at getting back into the game when she's at a deficit. Especially as an assassin, you need to be able to kill your target pretty much regardless of game state. So Evelyn quite weak in the first levels up to 6 when they really get that power spike of the invis plus the ultimate. Compared to the Nidalee, she can pretty much be proactive from level 2 even looking in, and we even see that Gadunica has opted for the electrocute this game, showing that they are looking for early kill threat.
The final question that I do want to ask with regards to the compositions here, Melvin. Again, we talk about the pushing nature of Bristol's composition, but is there a ticking time bomb for Bristol? If Bristol are unable to create a lead, is it just very simply going to be, you get to 30 minutes, you don't have a lead, you just get hard outscaled by the side of Exeter?
I think the only way that doesn't happen is if Bristol have managed to build up a massive gold and or dragon lead. Because if we don't see Bristol pick up several of the early dragons and threaten a soul, then completely the Exeter squad does outscale just into the later game. The only reason that wouldn't fully be the case is because the Renekton can kind of be a nuisance for Yone in the side lane. There are ways that they can physically play out the game, but Bristol definitely need an early game lead to actually get this rolling.
And when we speak about these early game leads, it makes me want to talk about another point, which is Drakes, because if Exeter are able, or pardon me, not Exeter, if Bristol are able to get those 4 Drakes, and let's say it's something like an Infernal Soul or an Ocean Soul, that could counteract the entire scaling advantage that the side of Exeter have available to them. But to specify my question more, do Bristol need to focus on those Drakes from the very first Drake, or could they allow the first couple of Drakes maybe to slip under their grasp and prioritize the Rift Heralds, for example?
I think certainly the Rift Herald is somewhat they will also look. Bristol have always liked going for this first Rift Herald, get pressure onto that objective, and because of how they have always played through topside, they use that top pressure to Rift Herald and then either take the resources back to bot lane or just pressure through top further. As we see a little bit of poke right now, chunking out refresh, and is going to lose top priority from level 1 at this point. As Nidalee is able to get a deep ward, going to fish, get the red trinket, and come back. Oh, they're not swapping to red, actually. That's a quirky one.
They just want to drop down some extra vision. Either way, minions are now in lane, and Melvin, the game and the start of the SouthLAnder 2021 Grand Finals is now well and truly underway.
And it is going to be an interesting one just to look at where both junglers go at the start of this game. We can even see right now both starting on their red buffs. Nidalee actually started with the red trinket and scryed out the initial ward and then got to place one of, not placed. Now they have their own. So what I expect is they're going to look for this invade level 2 onto the blue buff because they know Evelyn's on the top side, and then they're going to leave a ward down behind. This is going to be really impactful against the Evelyn because before they get the stealth, if you know where they are, they can pretty much do nothing. They have no hard force tools. They entirely need your lane to get the gank up for them. So this is going to be super, super big for just removing the pressure. But look, bot lane's collapsing.
And this is what we wanted to see from the get-go. Aggression on to the blue buff. And Gadunica chunked out low. Boomerang Blade will not be able to connect. Chentang now roaming down with the pressure from the mid lane that he has been able to achieve. Maverick going last, just forced to back off, and we see Benuxas, in the meanwhile, just shoving that wave into the bot lane out of tower.
And a decent defense from the Exeter squad. However, they are going to lose out on a good amount of XP as that lane was getting pushed in. They're going to force out the smite from this Nidalee, but if we look at the top side right now, Evelyn's actually getting counteracted before they're trying to invade themselves.
Trick 2D wanted to invade the top side, and it was a great awareness from the side of FN to be able to stop that invade. We also saw Chentang roaming up as well, but now Trick 2D has help of refresh on this blue buff, and it's a 1v2 scenario, and FN will just have to retreat.
And we saw there that just the sheer priority that the Bristol squad has, they were trying to just leverage that and stop Evelyn picking up any counter advantage. But at the end of the day, Nidalee is still going to come out on the head of this one as they do get all of Evelyn's bot side, whereas Evelyn only managed to pick up that blue buff. We'll have to see right now if a bot lane dive is potentially forced or if this Nidalee decides to path back into their own jungle.
Well, good Unica able to land the javelin toss on to Lusk. And we talked about, do Bristol want to play around the bot side? Historically, they are a team that does not want to do that. Either way, Gudunica is playing around the bot side for now. Counter-Strike coming through on the top lane from Refresh. Effen slicing his way out, but will it be enough? Leap strike forward, one more auto, flash away, and Effen will be able to survive.
And it is a damn good thing they have got this bot ahead right now, because Effen is in a rough spot in this top lane. Excellent work by Refresh right there. Effen having to loop around after they tried to protect their jungler. But playing for your jungler only helps them. It doesn't really help you until the jungler can repair it and come back to the top lane in this case. But with the sheer pressure that Gudunica is putting down bot, this is just every crocodile for themselves currently.
Gudunica stepping forward so aggressively. Lusk and Mafia Go do not want to try to stay under tower. Teleport now coming through, but this is going to be a 3v1. Fantastic Dark Binding from Nibble. Sana rooted down. So much damage coming through. Dashing forward, and Sana will be able to secure first blood for Exeter.
Oh, that was close as close can be right there. And that is not what you want to see if you are a Bristol fan, because that is going to put Nidalee back out of this game for the current moment, as they're going to be coming back onto the map. But none of their camps are reset, because Evelyn did not invade the Wolves or the Gromp. If you look at those camps, they're all level 1. Everything in Nidalee's jungle is level 1. So the only way they can keep immediate XP parity with the Evelyn is if they go for more invades. But they can't do that now, because the laners for Exeter have managed to pick themselves up a lead. Whether it be from Sana with the nice TP barely surviving, they have managed to pick up at least enough of an itemization to be able to survive this Lucian. The gold is still not that noticeable just because of the CS gap in this mid and bot lane, but frankly, looking pretty okay for Exeter right now.
Level advantage for Effen on the top side, and he will use that to his advantage in the trade. But again, I want to focus towards this bottom side of the map, Melvin, because we talked about the Caitlyn Morgana. We said, yes, there is aggression, but we also talked about how there is a Sivir Braum and how it would be so difficult to turn any advantage into a direct goal lead via a kill or whatever it is. And we're seeing that form here. Last and Mafia able to play so safe, and there is absolutely nothing Gudunica can do. We talked about how we wanted to see Venuxus and Nibble helping Gudunica to invade the jungle camps, but do you think this is over-aggression from Bristol to try to find more than what is actually available to them?
I don't know if it's necessarily over-aggression, but it's definitely a desync between what the laners are trying to do and what the jungler wants to achieve, because these are stealable camps, but not when it's just the Nidalee on their own. They need Morgana standing with them to zone off this Braum, because if Braum is locked in place, then yes, the two range champions can just rain down hell upon them. But when you need to keep this mid priority, this bot priority and mid priority with your laners, that means you have not got much uptime for this Nidalee to be able to go for these invades. So right now, it's definitely all going in Exeter's favor, with the exception of these actual CS matchups in the lanes. So it's really just a passive game state at the moment, and I don't think until level 6 anything big is going to start happening.
And let's talk about those CS discrepancies, because in the mid lane we're talking about 25 CS advantage for Chentang, who is the Bristol mid laner, and bot lane we're seeing about a 20 CS advantage for Benuxus. But on the top side of the map, Refresh doing a fantastic job on the Jax in what is a difficult matchup into the Renekton.
Yeah, certainly that initial roam out for home. Big play mid first.
Oh, the Ignite is ticking down. Sana might fall nonetheless, but Trick 2 dear with the ultimate makes it a 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
Okay, and that is both mid laners' ultimates, and in that case, just the Lucian's flash blown. So that means there will be some time in between the next play that Lucian would want to go for. Chentang is going to be vulnerable to Evelyn ganks once the Yone ult is back up and the Evelyn ult up. So expect Chentang to manage to keep mid priority for the next few waves, but after that, they're going to need to play safe, or at least have Gudunica in the vicinity, because otherwise they could get popped with basically zero counterplay.
And it has been good stuff coming through from Bristol. Chentang doing a good job to be able to find a kill in what was a difficult scenario. And Trick 2 dear picking up that kill, and now that Evelyn can start to try to snowball.
Certainly so. They have picked up the initial lead, got that Dark Seal stack, and frankly, or I would say most importantly, they have got the XP lead right now against the Nidalee because of what we were talking about earlier, of they had all reset camps. All of Evelyn's camps were respawning at level 4, 5, this kind of point. Whereas in Italy, they've just had to do a full clear before they actually got any real value. So we see now, Gadunica's trying to invade into that top side, but counterplay right now from Trick2D into bot. This could result in kills if it's not sniffed out by the Bristol bot.
Oh, Trick2D is coming in right behind Benuxus. Nibble is low, so is Mafia. Nibble will get poked down. Mafia coming in. Winterspite not actually going to connect. Mafia taken down low. Will be able to eat the pilt over Peacemaker. And somehow, Melvin, nobody dies on the top side of the map, but we might be getting some aggression on the top side as Gadunica working his way up. A 2v1. Good flash out of the javelin toss and leap strike out to safety. But we still have more aggression coming through. The culling comes through in the mid lane. Sana taken down low. Forced to return to the soul. But Chentang won't be able to layer any more damage.
That is the power of the Black Shield right there. I think it could have even been better if Trick2D had put the W onto Caitlyn and then actually gone for the kill onto Morgana, but good positioning from the Bristol bottom lane. You can tell these guys have had great practice as the weak side, as that was pretty much the best way they could avoid the gank without suffering too many summoner losses. They are going to be flashless though, but Last had to use their heal to keep that play from going completely wrong for Exeter. So as we see, pretty much net neutral across the map. None of the plays actually got too much outside of summoners, but look at this top side right now. Around the Rift Herald, this could potentially be a collapse. Everybody knows where everybody is currently.
Darkbinder coming through onto Trick2D, but Gadunica zoned away by Sana. The Rift Herald has been secured, and it is on refresh for Exeter.
And that did, I believe, get stolen by the looks of it. So that is going to be a pretty scary swing right now. Bristol, they love playing around this first Rift Herald, and this is one of the very, very few games that they do not end up getting it. So snowballing that priority is going to be rough. And what we were talking about in the pre-game of, well, can they give up dragons? Well, yes, if they get the Rift Herald, but without the Rift Herald, giving up anything now from this point is going to be really scary for Bristol. They need to get some kind of tangible lead, because at the moment it's just a bit of CS. 2k is fine, but with the sheer just draft priority your lanes are meant to have, that's not enough yet.
And we're 11 minutes into this game, and the first streak is yet to be secured. Mafia stepping up aggressively, will get hit by the Dark Binding and just eat so much damage. Lucky not to get hit by the 90 caliber net, otherwise he would be down to a couple of hundred HP at the most. Scuttle Crab is up on the bottom side of the map, and Melvin, both junglers are pathing their way down. Trick2D is right here on the hunt, comes through. The Boomerang Blade does so much damage, but Nibble able to flash over the wall and out to safety. Has Gadunica here. Dark Binding will not connect onto the trapper. Goes Trick2D, and he gets absolutely one-shot. Mafia Go doing his best to buy time, but he needs to run. Gadunica picks up the kill, takes her 2 tower shots, and Chentang is down on the bottom lane, picks up the kill with a light slinger, and 3 kills go the way of Bristol.
And that's exactly what they want right now. Big play manages to take 3 people off the map. And in the mid, it looks like Sana will be able to get some plate gold, but frankly, the Caitlyn managing to pick up the first tower, way, way bigger than getting just a couple plates mid. That has doubled the gold lead that Bristol found themselves with beforehand, and this is what we like to see with this kind of comp. You need to be getting off to a big start early, and while it took a couple minutes too long than I would have liked, at least they're getting stuff done now. They can rotate this Caitlyn to side lanes and get big tower priority in those lanes.
Refresh trading with FN just on the edge of tower lane was quite nicer to witness, and now Trick2D is on the top side as well. But I want to go back to our point. Oh, the ultimate is available. Trick2D going in, last caress. The burn is ticking down. Trick2D flash forward. The hate spike, not quite enough. Somehow Trick2D does not pick up a kill.
That is rough right there. Burning both the ultimate and the flash. That makes them so susceptible. We saw in the bot lane, they died with both of those abilities because they didn't think the trap would arm from Benuxus in the bottom lane. But nice placement, does manage to catch out Trick2D and really stunted the amount of just farming priority they managed to have. They need to full clear through their jungle, which is fine for them. But considering they're pathing to bot side, this means that top is now very susceptible to getting played on. We do see the Rift Herald come down mid.
Culling from Chentang to whittle down the way, but it does not matter. The tower will fall nonetheless. Counter-strike coming through. A fate seal. Chentang will fall, but the tower is still up, and Chentang will be able to pick up a kill of his own. Nibble is here. This is a 2-on-1. Sana will run right on into Gadunica. And Gadunica will continue the chase. Surely there is no way for Sana to outplay. Flashing over the wall. Dashes out to safety. Mafia Go is here, but Benuxus is on the way. And this will slowly turn from a 2v1 into a 3v2. Last making their way down as out comes the Glacial Fissure. Gadunica dashing forward. Somehow the Dark Binding does not connect, but the spear will. And Gadunica picks up the kill.
Wow, that was certainly not how it looked like it was going to go there. Mafia Goat was in and out of danger for the best part of 15 straight seconds. It looked like they were safe, but an excellent spear from Gadunica manages to salvage that play. While they do lose the mid lane tower for Bristol, at least they pick up 2-for-1 kills in the end. And because, crucially, Mafia Goat did go down, and that is Sana now TPing back to mid, they are going to be able to use this Caitlyn Morgana to poke into top, but look at that. It's past 14 minutes now. The amount of time that play took and the amount of plates that went back over to Exeter has bought time. Sana on this Caitlyn Morgana does not get the full value of collecting plates from every lane.
Gadunica playing very aggressively, stepping forward right on into Mafia Goat. But I want to bring up the narrative point now because I feel that there might be... Actually, let's hold on to that thought. Chentang trading on into Sana does so much, but now Trick 2Deer is here. We'll have the ultimate available in a few seconds, not even needed, as Trick 2Deer picks up their second kill of the game.
And I think, frankly, Exeter is fine to let this Sivir go down. They're only 20 so CS behind after this, but this could end up being a double kill right now if they play it wrong.
Gadunica once more teleport coming through from the side of Exeter will turn the 3v2 into a 3v3, but Mafia is so low. Flash forward with the counter-strike. Lands a CC onto Nibble, but is there more to follow? Dyson stopwatch just to keep him alive, but Sana is on the way. A down Refresher dashing forward. Gadunica will fall. Nibble will fall as well. Refresh remains alive, and 3 go the way of Exeter.
And I know it's only 15 minutes, but that could actually be the game now for Exeter. This is just so much of the early tempo broken now for Bristol. That was ever so close to everybody getting out of Sliver, but the TP committed from Refresh. They actually also flash over the wall blind. Does get the stun on. Nibble with an excellent stopwatch almost saves them, but just the sheer collapse from Sana and Refresh manages to swing that massively into Exeter's favor as a play on Chentang.
Oh, Chentang gets absolutely obliterated, and this is what an Evelyn can do. Was 2-1, now 3-1. Exeter are in the driving seat.
And that Evelyn is doing next to true damage. As we take a look at the gold lead right now, if you see where most of it is, right now, Yone ahead of the Lucian, that was from the mid lane tower play. Jungle, roughly even, minor lead to Trick 2Deer. But key, look at this top lane. 1,000 gold to Jax means that they are currently at their Triforce and Shoes. And while Renekton has Gore Drinker, this does way more for Jax than it does for Renekton in the side lane. So Effen doesn't even get to have the pressure to try and push in Refresh now, as they have the option to fight back. And if we just look around across the map, you can almost see the gold lead speaking in their respective lanes.
Benuxus has been greedy to secure the tower, takes a hell of a lot of damage, but will be able to survive just by a tiny an amount. But Benuxus now has to reset, and there is a Drake spawning in 15 seconds time, and surely Exeter will have the priority for this.
They have the priority for it, but it's almost a question of do they need to go for it, because it's not something that's essential to them. They're happy to give up 1 at this point. If you are fully snowballing, you could be threatening your 3rd Drake around this time right now. But the fact this is only 2nd, and it looks like it will be, what, an Ocean or a Cloud Soul, then frankly, Exeter don't really need to threaten too much here, but it looks like they want to take it. This could turn into a big 5v5 after the fact, because Bristol want to get some level of play happening immediately after to try and swing the goal back in their favor.
The Drake is rushed down by the side of Exeter, and they pick up their first Drake of the game. Both sides are now with 1 Drake, and Exeter will retreat. The point that I did want to bring up before, Melvin, was the fact that the objective for Exeter was not to win the early game. It was a damage limitation objective, and they limited that damage. They were only 2k goal behind, and then that excellent rotation to the top side has swung the lead of the game, has swung the goal lead into their favor, and they now have a 1,000 gold advantage over Bristol.
Certainly so. Exeter are going to be very pleased with themselves. We see Trick 2Deer with that Medjai's. They finished with 25 stacks last week, and yeah, they just are in a great spot. Even the fact that they get an Infernal with 4 damage threats on their team, even just that single dragon is more raw stats than the Bristol squad will get from their mountain. And as we take a look for how the game develops, we need to see pretty much desperation plays from Bristol. Right now, they're trying what they can to get farm, and it's still playable for them, but without leads in their side lanes, having mid prio doesn't matter too much, because if Jax and Yone can get prio on Renekton and Lucian and then just collapse, there's nothing you can do to stop these two jumping on with a Sivir ult.
I do still want to have faith for Bristol. I do still believe there are ways back there are ways for them to get back into this game. We haven't got to the point where the members of Exeter have reached those power spikes, because even though Bristol have this early game composition, they are still strong in the mid game, and I still believe that if they can find decent fights, they can come out on top.
Certainly so. While they aren't in a spot that this comp ever wants to be in, they are skilled enough players, and most importantly, only really the Brom and ever so slightly the Jax will start to build truly defensive items. Yes, Yone is in fact got an Infinity Edge and the Immortal Shield Bow, but that doesn't really stop them from getting locked up by a Morgana Q. If the Morgana binding ever connects, there's a good chance whoever it hits dies. The only thing I will say, by the way, I'm not sure if you saw, but there was a little Reddit post a while ago explaining how Yone E works, the one where he unbinds from his soul. And you can actually just dodge Morgana Q of that. So, yeah, that's cool, because it acts as a very temporary cleanse if he's already, like, doing the thing where he puts his sword back in the sheath as the binding hits. So I say that, but Sana does have counter. Yeah, for some reason. For some reason.
Well,
Don't ask why.
we'll have to see whether that does come through at some point. It would be very impressive to see if Sana can get that interaction to occur. One thing that I do want to bring up, Melvin, is the itemization. Do you like items, Melvin?
I love items. This season has been certainly interesting for how they've gone about it. I've liked to just experiment to see if there's anything a bit wacky, but frankly, most champions have been figured out. Really, the only thing that almost snuck its way under was the whole Moonstone phenomenon, but now everybody knows about that. There's nothing that's too sleeper. The thing I would say is on this patch, Stride Break is very good. Sorry, what was your initial question going to be?
Actually, you got to it right at the end. Stride Break. Now, I know crocodiles aren't necessarily the most intelligent of creatures, but from what I was aware, Stride Breaker was the way to go. We're going to hold that thought for a second as Mafia gets caught out, and potentially on the top side, Exeter will look for a play of their own, and Chentang will get taken down. One goes the way of Exeter. The tower shots come through. Now FN wants to find the 1v1 on to Sana, and the rest of Bristol are on their way. Ace in the hole will find the shutdown for Benuxas. And now Trick 2D running for their life. The last caress comes through. Gadunica on the chase. Flashes up forward, looks for the damage hit. The Fate Seal will not connect. And Gadunica picks up an easy kill. And all of a sudden, Bristol are finding picks that they need. Picks that could bring them back into this game.
I don't hate what Sana just did there. It did look like they killed themselves, but crucially, it means their jungler is alive. While Evelynn doesn't have Flash or Last Caress, they can at very least threaten a Baron Steal, whereas Yone can't really offer the same utility. As we see right now, Bristol are getting a start onto it. Evelynn is in the area, will be able to sneak on through. It's the question of what does Exeter decide to do? Do they just collapse on this? Do they let the objective go? They've ignored the Rift Herald, but what's going to happen?
Trick 2D has a 2-level advantage, and Exeter decided to go in. Counter-Strike will not be able to connect, but the Glacial Fissure finds two. It does not matter because Bristol are winning the fight with a pure numbers advantage. Mafia go and Trick 2D on the run, but crucially, Exeter deny the Baron.
No true tanks on either side means that this is just going to be too much chip damage from the objective. And right now, this is actually a bit scary for Bristol. They're going to take this Ocean Dragon, but if you look, that Yone ult almost up, Evelynn ult actually about to be up. This could turn into potentially collection plays, depending on where people decide to recall. This is very much just down to how well Bristol decide to coordinate their bases. As Caitlyn will be left alone for a moment, but it looks like not going to even try. Exeter's just going to retake vision on the top side right now. And while that did swing the gold, it didn't put them in the lead. It got Bristol that second dragon, so they could start to try and re-threaten objectives again. I don't know if it's going to be enough.
But this goes back to the point that we brought up before, which was the fact that despite Bristol being behind, they still have an early mid-game composition, and they were able to execute it. They were able to show why this comp can work so well. Yes, we're talking a few hundred gold discrepancy between the two teams, but practically the gold is dead even between both sides.
Certainly so, and it's the way that I like to look at gold is you have to look at what it's being spent on. As Evelyn is lurking, they don't actually seem to be in range for that control ward just yet, and they wouldn't know they've been spotted, but oh my lord, this is a big collapse.
This is bad for Bristol. One goes the way of Exeter, but Exeter will not over-aggress. But last gets the Piltover Peacemaker damage tanked up by Mafia's Unbreakable. And Exeter pick up a kill of their own. Bristol playing a little bit too aggressively.
Crucially, that was the jungler that went down. It looks like Exeter don't want to threaten the Baron, but they very well could if they wanted to. The Yone Sivir will rip through this objective, and because of the collapse play that happened shortly beforehand, Refresh and Evan both are without teleport in the side lane. It looks like Exeter aren't going to overextend. They seem to be just kind of playing for the soul at this point, but being down that dragon, they're going to be waiting a while. I imagine they're more so just hoping that Bristol goes for a desperation play on Vision, and then they can make something happen. Either that, or we could potentially see a repeat of last week where Trick Dudia just shadows their side laner, makes a play off of that, and then turns it into a team fight after.
A point that I do want to bring up is a last on this Sivir. Usually, I'm used to saying, hey, we have a Sivir. It's going to scale up. It's going to be a monster in the late game. What about Lethality Sivir, though, Melvin? Is this still as much of a monster in the late game as we are familiar with for a Sivir?
Against some true tank comps, maybe not so, but key thing to notice about the Bristol comp, nobody building armor, really. It's just the plated steel caps on Renekton and the Zhonya's on Gadunika's Nidalee, and I think that is the only armor at the moment. So it's going to scale pretty well. You don't really get to itemize into these things that beat lethality as these squishy champions. So yeah, I think Last is going to be pretty deadly in these fights, and you're going to need to be careful because we even saw it earlier on when Last was only at one item, but they nearly two-shot Nibble with an auto and a Q. So as this game goes on, it's only going to get scarier. We see them itemizing into even more armor pen now as Mafia Goat's potentially getting picked off.
Remember, Mafia Goat is the only real thing that can be only real champion. What am I talking about? Only thing. Only real champion that can be considered a tank. And a point that I do want to bring up here as well is this Renekton. Yes, we talk about the scaling aspect of the side of Exeter, but if FN on this Renekton can get into the backline, it could be huge. The question that I want to pose is, do Exeter have enough peel to prevent FN from getting into this backline and being a monster for Doc?
Well, frankly, I don't think it's going to matter at the current moment because they're just taking this Baron with no
Sana going in. The Fate Seal will go right onto Nibble. Picks up the kill with a Soul Unbound. Gadunika on the run. Mafia flashing forward. Not going to be able to find the last bite. Last gets run down. Sana going over the wall. Looking for the damage onto Chentang. But Chentang gets there. Taken down. Trick 2D on the other side of the map as Benuxas are backs off and retreats. It will just be the 1-4-2 so far. Sana taking a lot of damage with the ultimate. Now Refresh looking for the counter-strike. Not going to be able to land it. Gadunika going golden will get hit by the Winter Spy. And there's going to be absolutely nothing that Bristol can do whatsoever. Sana might get taken down, but it's just too many people. Benuxas finds one, but it will still be Bristol who come out. Exeter who come out on top. And they will turn their attention towards the Baron with 3 members alive.
And that big collapse play right then, we saw Bristol once again going for the Desperation Baron because they know they need to get ahead and the Dragon Soul will not be coming soon enough for them to eclipse the sheer itemization lead that's going to come out of Exeter later on. But right now, contest at the Baron. Is this a counter throw from Exeter? Evelyn does have the last caress, but no smoke.
Oh! The shield is huge. Mafia will get taken down. Nibble will find the lockdown and Evan will be able to take the double kill on the Renekton. Does he try to keep the aggro from Baron? Trick 2D and Last are here. Chentang making his way down. This could turn around badly for either side. But Bristol will retreat, and the Baron once again is denied, Melvin.
My lord, that was just chaos around that objective. Okay, so taking stock of what we saw happen, the gold once again continues to be dead even. Oh my lord, look at the vision Exeter have around that Baron. But the Dragon is what matters right now. This could put Bristol on soul point. And if the teams keep chucking themselves at each other, then frankly, Bristol have a chance because all it takes is one fight to swing a little too heavily in their favor. And despite their champions not scaling as well, they can still collapse a lot of objectives with these double ADCs plus Renekton comp. But as we see there, Dragon soul point over to Bristol. Exeter just coming back on the map. It's a bit scary now. You're not exactly terrified of the enemy team with Ocean Soul, but you don't want to give it to them, you know?
I mean, that Ocean Soul will be pretty big in teamfights for the likes of Effen and Chentang. But this is the point where Exeter will be glad that they got that one Infernal Soul, that they've been able to deny this Ocean Soul at 28 minutes into the game. The Baron is once again the focus point for both their teams, and it is Bristol who will be able to set up vision in the river first. As Exeter step up, they're going to be able to take all of that vision away.
And this is just the compositional difference. Having Mafia Goat on the Brom means you are able to actually contest for wards, as we actually see the two solo laners for Exeter are starting the Baron, but Bristol are aware.
Oh, look at
Renekton, no
Trick2.
TP.
He's looking to come on in from behind. The Fate Seal will not be able to connect. Chentang just looking to dish out the damage. Benux is taken down low, forced to just try to dish out autos from behind the wall. Trick2 will be able to find one as a Boomerang Blade comes through. 2 kills going the way of Exeter. And crucially, it is the jungler for Bristol who has fallen.
And Bristol doing the best they could right there to play the fight slowly, but the collapse from Evelyn and the fact they have to retreat into a choke point altogether just means they line up for Yone, but now here's the counter contest.
Sana going right on in. Chentang gets eviscerated. And now Exeter will just run through the rest of the composition. Surely look at this shield for Effen. Mafia Go able to survive. Built over Peacemaker not able to connect, as that will be one going the way of Exeter, but it is only one. Exeter find the extended ace, and they only lose one member in the process. They'll secure the Baron as well at the 30-minute point in the game.
And in the backline right there, Sana was just holding Baron aggro the entire time. Exeter's team just weaving on the edge of HP. Mafia Goat dropping down to single digits at the end there. And my lord, that was a ridiculous series of events. Bristol came to contest the Baron, but they didn't have the numbers advantage. And the fact that they were just letting Effen push the bottom side, that was just Exeter saying, hey, we don't care if you push a tier 2 tower bot. We're going to get Baron, and we can run down the game with this.
Oh no, Nibble just gets run down. Trick2 doesn't even need the ultimate.
And that is just the power of this Evelyn with the 24 Magi stacks, one away from their record last week. And the Rabadons, don't forget the Proto Belt on the side. This Evelyn does not need ult to kill people. And frankly, with it, it is going to be a demolition. Without a good Zhonya's usage, I think everybody on the Bristol squad can get one shot by an Evelyn combo.
640 AP currently for Trick2 on the Evelyn, and only set to increase as more and more items get completed. And once again, Trick2 playing in the shadows, but there are some Caitlyn traps set up, which will make it hard for Trick2 to find those flank engages, be able to get into the backline. Speaking of getting into the backline, Melvin, I posed a question. Effen on this Renekton, would he be able to get into the backline? Well, at the moment, it doesn't even matter, because even if he does, he's getting peeled away and he's not being able to find sufficient damage. Just look at that from the Boomerang Blade onto Kaduna.
It is ridiculous how much damage this the Falthian pen, but look at what they're doing. They just can't kill Refresh. He's just stood there and tanked everything.
The Fate Seal comes through onto Nibble, who goes golden, as out comes the Glacial Fissure. Effen on the run again, can't get into the backline. Nibble will heal up after getting taken down so low. And we're just seeing the power of the Exeter composition right now.
And this was not what we expected coming into this game. Bristol trying really hard to just get an early snowball comp, but the fact that they just have zero scaling across their lanes is just pretty much death for them at this point. As long as Exeter doesn't really mis-execute, it's going to be a game for them here.
Trick2 just goes on in, but the GA will get popped, which means Effen has a second attempt, but it doesn't matter because Exeter have got what they wanted. They popped the GA, and they will now retreat with Drake up in 40 seconds time.
And they really now just have a moment for their side laners to reset, refresh coming back onto the map. They do have to teleport if they really want to. And I want to applaud the vision control that Exeter's had this game. It's very easy to get wards when you're ahead, but the sheer amount of control they have had and has enabled Sana and Trick2 on these two pick-based champions to really run away with it. Whenever somebody steps too far into a choke point, if the enemy comp just kind of jumps in together to try and contest an objective, you've always seen at least some attempt at a counterattack by Exeter, and while the misexecutions have been there, it frankly hasn't mattered just because of the sheer information gap that they have right now.
Gudunica gets locked down, trying to heal up Sana on the way. Gudunica will go golden as the rest of Exeter show up, and Gudunica taken down. The Soul Unbound comes through, and it is just one easy kill going the way of Exeter, and they pick up the Drake as well, which means that for the side of Bristol, they need to wait another 5 minutes for a chance to secure an Ocean Soul, which could potentially bring them back into this game.
And I frankly think they won't get the chance to wait that long. The only reason that wouldn't be the case is if Exeter want to play this very cleanly and just hope for the next Baron, play to that, force a repeat of the previous play, but with even more itemization in their favor, and then look for something along those lines. Thing is, because the Bristol squad has that Ignite on Chentang, we haven't really had to talk about it much, but when you get to this point with 1-3-1, it's way scarier because now Jax or Yone can back off, TP to the other side, and suddenly it's a massive numbers advantage for Exeter.
Well, Sana could just try to 1v1 Effen as he is. Now he'll take Krugs, and Trick 2 there will just go right on in. The dominance comes through. Is this a potential turnaround for the side of Exeter? Remember, or for the side of Bristol, remember Effen does not have that GA available. Lost Crest comes through, which actually denies the ace in the hole, and the ultimate will reset for the Bristol ADC.
But on the other side of the map, this is exactly what we just mentioned. Refresh getting a free inhib off of it. You attempt to make a play, but if you don't have double TP to collapse on them, you can never really get away with it for free. Trick 2 Deer only having to burn the ultimate. That ability, I'm going to tell you in a second how long a cooldown it is. It is 64 seconds, so really nothing too impactful from them. And Exeter don't even drop the pressure right now. This mid push is just relentless from the Sivir on last.
Well, we might be getting collapsed through on to Sana. Nibble and Gudunica on one. Chentang Benux is making their way through. The Spate Seal does so much damage, and somehow Sana picks up a 2. This might very well be the game-ending play. Effen getting run down on the tower. Refresh just tanking up a tower shot after tower shot. And now once more, he's tanked up the mid lane tower. Now he'll tank up the bot lane tower. And Exeter will find the ace. Nibble will fall. However, Dark Binding come through. Refresh actually might die in the process. No, he's able to stay alive, which means it is a clean ace from Exeter. They'll crash on in to the mid lane. They'll take the Nexus towers down. Game 1 of the best of 5 for the SouthLAnder Grand Finals will go the way of Exeter University.
And that was not the result people were thinking of coming into the day. It almost looked inevitable for Bristol to be able to run this game through. They have been ever so dominant, but Exeter showing up in great form with some slip-ups throughout the game. They do manage to take it away with this one. The only thing that was really suspect was a few early plays into the bottom side where it looked like maybe the Caitlyn Morgana got a bit too far ahead. But as we saw as it went through, really didn't matter.
And to compare with what we saw before, you know, where we saw Exeter able to take down Swansea in the semis, this looked like a much cleaner game, or a much closer game from Exeter. And we talked about how Bristol were the favourites coming into this series. We've also talked about how this is a 5-game series, not a 3-game series. So there's a lot of opportunities to be able to adapt your draft. And Melvin, for you, what do you think Bristol need to change heading on into game 2?
I would say most of it. Not in a harsh way, because the comp itself works if you get super far ahead.
Yeah.
But there was actually zero chance for them to compositionally come back into the game. It all needed to be on the back of the team just playing better. And when you're against a still competent team, like Exeter's not incompetent, you can't just say, we're going to run you over in the early game. And while you could see the idea, they had the right plan to split the map, get the invade onto the Evelyn. You could tell that they let it through on purpose. They had the Nidalee for that attempted aggression through the bot side, but top went behind a bit too much. And I think maybe if it was something a bit more passive, maybe like an Ornn, or even something that could actually help threaten onto the rest of the map, maybe even like a Shen, something like this. I just think that the issue is they went a little too ham with the idea that it was feast or famine. So while the idea can work, we've seen now that Exeter can resist this if you don't execute perfectly. So considering Bristol have been so dominant, I would like to see them pivot back to a bit more style that they are familiar with. Maybe get top lane counter pickers. I believe they should get choice of side now. I'm not actually sure if they chose blue in that first game, now that I say it, but frankly, I think Bristol want to be on red side, want to get counter pick for top lane, and if you have that, you can pretty much run back a similar strategy.
I do also want to praise the mid laner from Bristol as well. Oh, pardon me, the mid laner from Exeter, Sana, because that teleport to the bottom side is what kind of was a first thorn in the side of Bristol. That rotation up to the top side was, you know, as you said at the time, this could actually be the game-ending play 15 minutes into the game, and it was so huge. The other teleport he did to the top side to save a Trick 2 and prevent Trick 2 from losing what I think was 6 or 7 Magi stacks at the time was so crucial, and I'm interested to see whether that Yone will be coming through again for Bristol.
Certainly, so it is something that both mid laners actually play, so it might be the case of it gets taken away if it's not early prioritized, but as we saw in that game, even with counter picks in every lane for just lane dominance on the Bristol side, they had the winning Lucian, they had the Caitlyn Morgana that got push priority, and then for the top lane, while the Renekton did go down to the Jax, that was mainly because they didn't have the jungle assistance to get the initial snowball. The Jax does do quite nicely into Renekton if there's not an initial lead, so as we come into this next one, I think Bristol know what they need to do. They are very competent. They've been showing pretty much sheer dominance throughout the entirety of this split across basically everything they've took part in. So they know what they could do. I think it may have just been first game jitters of, you know, getting into it. We'll have to see if that form persists in the second game, though.
I'm sure Bristol know exactly what they need to do. We also know what we need to do, which is jump on into a break. We'll be right back in a few minutes' time with the start of a game 2 in this best of 5 of the SouthLAnder 2021 Grand Finals.
Definitely. Obviously, once spent, and now the objective starts up because Caitlyn's slow on the recall. She greeted. Oh, hang on.
We'll jump in. Oh, early smite.
Big
Sejuani takes it out. Zaka goes
And
over the
she's
wall.
out.
Oh, the Zaya flash over the wall, trying to chase it down. See if they can get any kills here. Huge feather. Oh, into cool. Oh, the feather cool. So it was a 2v4, but somehow the Zaya's being so strong here just helps win them the fight.
And they managed to pick up 2 kills.
And like I said, Sammy was on the top side of the map, but oh, he's actually. Well, he's maybe coming bot lane now. He's
going
just
mad
running
mode.
straight in, finds
That's
the
gonna be all
first kill
3.
onto the Mordekaiser, and now looks to get the third there as well onto the Misfortune. Okay, Sammy Jungles just walks. Okay, all right, calm down. Just
I
goes
think he's showing off a little
just
bit
finds
now.
himself a triple kill. All right.
I mean, unfortunately, wrong place at the wrong time. Need to be killing the tanks.
Well, Sammy Youngles now jumping back onto the back line, trying to see who he can find. Is Game GG will be able to get that ult down, but the steal comes through from Sammy, and now Harry the Machine trying to put the damage out onto the front line. Gentin is untouched, however, but Rat looks to change that. Rhydona gets the suplex over the wall, and we'll find out 1 kill, and now Rat is dashing down onto the Jhin. He secures
triple
himself a triple kill, and Gentin is still alive. Rat looking for the claw, takes it forward. The flash comes through, and he's still alive. It's the heal from Harry the Machine. Will he steal the penta? Rat not going to be able to go far enough forward as Harry the Machine secures the ace on the Caitlyn and moves into the base.
And that's a huge team fight for Rat. They'll look to just end the game here, but amazing play from him to be able to go in there, using that team fight SouthLAnder to its full advantage.
Okay, well, he's looking to recall now because he does have the
Horn is a 3-man knockup, and now Samwise is moving in on to fight the back line. Rhydona is untouched, but does it matter because Harry the Machine is the one doing the damage. He's found himself a double, it's a triple, but he goes down before he can find the penta. Now it's up to Pappy. He's running it down with the empowered Q. Just a few more autos onto Rat. Is he going to be able to find them? He's not. And it is a 4 for 3 in favor of Portsmouth.
Team fight. Yeah, as well. How now that MF is going to be part of this team fight, they do go and they go try and burst down, try and just flash away.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we jump on in for game 2 of the day between Bristol and Exeter. For those of you tuning in, Exeter were able to secure game 1. Melvin, Bristol went with a feast or famine approach, as you put it, at the end of game 1, and it was not able to work out for them. So heading on into game 2, is this the chance for Bristol to run it back and say, no, we just misexecuted it, we'll play it again, we'll take the win, or do they look to completely change up the draft?
I certainly think this will be the moment where Bristol decides how the series will go. Are they just going to lock it in stone and say, yeah, no, that was a bad first game. We misexecuted. And I completely agree. I think this is going to be the moment where we get to see their true colors, because if they try and run it back and it goes wrong again, that is a lot of pressure put onto these players who are, in fairness, all very experienced. We have a very experienced roster for the Bristol whipped squad. So it's not going to be the biggest problem if they do go down 0-2 in a series. But you don't really ever want to be in that kind of situation, because if you try the same strategy twice and lose on it twice, mixing up in the third game means that you can really just get taken aback when you're almost still playing to your original win conditions. It's going to be hard for you to adapt on the fly. I think it is possible for them, but this is a really scary game if Bristol do end up dropping it. And frankly, I'm going to be interested to see if Bristol decide to opt for that kind of same strategy again, as they have decided to once again take the blue side.
In this series, it is a case of the losing team gets side selection for the next game, and Bristol have decided that they want to be on the blue side of the map, just like they were in game 1. Now, we do remember for the side of Exeter that against Swansea in the semi-finals, Swansea opted, to stick to that same strategy. They opted to stick with the Fizz ideology into the Yone, and they were able to make it work much better in game 2. But I think the point that I'm trying to put across is Exeter are used to this kind of idea from opposing teams.
Certainly so. I think they have got experience against this kind of almost run back, and frankly, with that Bard first ban, we may actually get an almost identical draft coming into this one. We'll have to see if anything gets shook up, if that Yone Evelyn is still let through. This is going to stay pretty much the same at the moment, but the Sivir is the first thing that gets mixed up.
Sivir banned away from last. It was most certainly an issue, and with that Sivir gone, it does mean that potentially, if Bristol do look for the same kind of composition, there won't be that safety in the bot lane for the side of Exeter.
Oh, and the Evelyn taken away, crucially as well. That does leave the Udyr up on the table as one of the bans that was taken down. We'll have to see now, though, if Exeter want to ban it and avoid giving it away on first pick. Gadunica has not got to play very much Udyr in the past, as it's been banned against them, well, pretty much every game, as you see here.
But now with the Udyr gone, that Rel is available. If a Nibble wants to take, I believe you were telling me before how Nibble really does like that Rel pickup.
Certainly so, but it looks like they're actually going to prefer their Morgana this game, going for the run back, as I imagine this will be another Caitlyn Morgana lane. Potentially, though, Exeter could opt to take it away here if they wanted to, and maybe pair it with something else. However, with the Sivir gone, now it comes down to what is last next best option for a defensive bot laner that can survive against them.
And my mind goes to the likes of a Senna. Maybe we'd see an Ezreal, but if we want to see something aggressive, we could be seeing the likes of a Tristana or a Kai'Sa, but the Karthus is what is locked in for Trick 2D in the jungle.
That certainly is one way to start off a draft right there, as they instantly throw down this Karthus. One of those champions that has always skirted around the meta. In solo queue, they've had extremely good performances just because you could always get a lot done, and I think you are right, that does look like it will be Trick 2D. It obviously has the potential to go into lanes, but Noxus themselves is a bit of a Karthus lane player for bot lane, so while I'm not going to rule it out completely, it is likely to be a Yone Karthus duo in the mid jungle.
Okay, well, let's see, because there could potentially be more flexibility. The Karthus maybe even be going into the APC role. It wouldn't be unheard of. The Gragas is locked in. Again, this is flexibility, and if the Karma is locked in, the question I've got for you here, Melvin, is this Gragas topping Karma support, or is it Karma topping Gragas support?
I think one more layer on top of that is Gadunica has actually played this Gragas jungle, so frankly, I much prefer this opening for Bristol, just because it gives them more options, like we're alluding to here, of if you're Exeter and you look at this, you go, oh, well, now what? because even that Karma could go mid. So there's so many potential iterations of this draft for Bristol now that it means coming into the second rotation of bans, Exeter's kind of left wondering of, okay, well now we just have to ban what we don't want to play against because we don't really get the say in what goes where, and we see now actually Refresh taking the Camille blind and banning away counters on this rotation. That presumably will be the Renekton ban next, unless they are really going to be confident against Effen, who just showed it that they play Renekton in the first game.
And I have a feeling that there are more squishy champions to be coming through from the side of Bristol as the Jhin ban has come out, because if you're going to take tanks, to be honest, Melvin, you don't really mind if that Jhin does come through.
Certainly so. That is a pretty interesting one to come out. I think it's one of the similar principles what we're talking about with the potential for the Sivir, of it's a very safe laner. It does do well into Caitlyn. Ashe is another such champion that does well into Caitlyn, and this is because the range is still outdone via just abilities, while Caitlyn does have the highest auto range of these bot laners. These other champions that can fight back with their abilities have the potential to be a nuisance for them. So we might see Last pick up the Ashe, while it is not exactly in their wheelhouse. Senna, like you said earlier as well, is another potential champion that they might pair with. And if they do, we're going to be leaving support, presumably for counterpick in that case.
Well, we talked about the Ashe, Melvin, and it is being hovered by Last. Will get switched last second, and we will have the Varus coming through. My first time seeing the Varus picked up in a competitive game this season.
Cool. Varus is a cool champion now. We could get into some of the changes about them as we load into the game, but they are pretty much what you remember of the Fatality Varus, with the fact that they play like on hit while building it now. So we'll get into that when we see what support it's going to be paired with, as we do see Chentang opting for that Twisted Fate into the Yone in lane.
And it is looking to be a tank in the top lane for Bristol, which would mean it is going to be this Gragas jungle and a Karma bot. Will we be getting the Urgot through?
Oh, no,
and
no.
yes, we will.
That is a scary champion. We almost got to talk about last game, but Stride Breaker. This is an item that Urgot can certainly build heading into this one, as that does presumably, unless we're getting really wacky with it, lock the Twisted Fate mid, Karma support, and the Gragas into top lane.
I don't think there are any other possible ways that this comp can really
options. Likely options.
And any good options, I think we can also say as well here, Melvin. Okay, Braum Varus bot lane. You said that there are some cool things about Varus. Hit me with it.
Okay, so the recent changes, well, not recent, I think it was around the start of the season, around the point after itemization happened. On-hit Varus didn't seem to do too well with most of them. The Fatality Varus wasn't particularly great either. So what Riot have done is they've almost just fused the two playstyles together, where now, Varus, they have those blighted stacks that they get from the W, the little 3 circles that rotate around people. When you use a basic ability on Varus and pop those on a champion, it lowers your basic ability cooldowns by an amount based on how many you pop. So, long story short, hit abilities, reduce abilities.
So, reminder to yourself, don't play Varus because I can't hit abilities.
It's it's very complicated when you look at it, but it's extremely flashy if played well. Last on this champion is going to be a pretty scary one with the Braum, because they can quickly build up the 3-hit passive with the Braum once the initial stack is applied by them. So stuns available and kill pressure galore in this bot lane post 6 for them.
The other thing I want to bring up is, again, this Bristol playstyle that we highlighted going into game 1. That then didn't happen. We talked about how Bristol don't like to play around their bot side, and they pretty much exclusively played around their bottom side in the first game. They've gone with the Caitlyn again, the Twisted Fate coming through. I'm getting the feeling that, again, Bristol want to be playing around the bot side, but this time they've got a Destiny and even quicker rotations to punish this Varus Braum bot lane.
I think we are likely to see some level of early aggression just because you do have prio bot side into Karthus. And since Karthus will usually start for the blue buff, that means they will likely be down there and presumably get a leash from Varus and Braum, which means that Caitlyn and Karma will be able to get push initially. And that basically just means that Kadunika can do whatever they want with the first clear. However, the Gragas is not remotely as powerful in the jungle in these early levels as the Nidalee is. So we may actually see a bit more of a passive Wait until 6, let Gadunica presumably get the Predator shoes. We'll have to see when we get into game. But I think top is likely to be the action lane, at least for initial laning.
Well, Camille Ergo does spell action to me. And we'll have to see whether Gadunica and Trick 2D are look towards the top side of the map. For me, Gadunica on this Gragas is a champion that you would be expecting to see ganking once he has that level 3 available, has the body slam, of course. Explosive cast gives even more gank setup. What about Trick 2D? Because in my books, it's just going to be a case of Trick 2D just power farming until he's full build, let's be honest.
Pretty much. That is how Karthus likes to play. They prefer to just get the full speedy clear and then counter gank from that point. So Trick 2D, while they will lack initial agency, it is going to be important for them to make sure that Gadunica does not get away with a lot of these cheeky early ganks, because Gragas, like you were alluding to, only needs the body slam to actually get a decent gank off, especially with the setup from this lanes. You do have the poke, the traps from the Caitlyn Karma, you have the yellow card, obvious from Twisted Fate, and while FN does not have the same level of setup, they are extremely comfortable on this Urgot pick. It is a long-time mainstay for FN. So in this top lane, you're going to need to be careful when you do end up going up there, because it can get pretty swingy, given the fact that they can execute Karthus or Camille quite fast.
I think when we talk about the gank setup as well, we have to talk about the ease in which Exeter can deny the ganks. Sure, you've got the hook shot from Refresh on that Camille, but if that hook shot does get wasted, that is a perfect opportunity for Bristol to look to punish. And when you look towards the bottom side as well, Nibble is on this Karma. Sure, maybe doesn't have the best setup, but instead can just speed up the Gragas, and then Gragas can just set up himself.
Okay, so taking a quick look at the runes and everything like that, we do see that Gragas has actually opted for Phase Rush this game.
Ooh.
Now, whether that implies that they're going to go for an AP burst route and just chain with this Everfrost, we've seen it a lot in the top lane, haven't seen it much from jungle Gragas though.
For some reason, for a second, I looked at Trick 2D, I saw the Dark Harvest and thought, why do we have Predator Karthus? But no, that is Dark Harvest, not Predator. It's
That's
all
the standard.
normal.
Yeah, everything fine out of them, nothing unexpected. And we'll have to see as we get into the game. Refresh has actually opted for the Ignite teleport on this Camille. Now,
Oh yeah.
we're going to have to amend what we said earlier. This is likely to be early action in the top lane. And that's because if I'm Gadunica and I see that, you want to put that behind and chain gank it. Because if you see a laner go in without flash, you can bully them very hard. And we know that getting F and ahead has usually spelled victory for Bristol. So seems like a recipe for success, really, especially when you get to 6. Twisted Fate could join in the party. If I'm refreshed this game, I'm going to feel like my bot lane did last time.
Let's see what Refresh it can pull off on the Camille. He had the Jax in the previous game into Renekton. He was able to find a lead regardless of a disadvantageous matchup. And never mind, it's GG. Bristol have won. Nibble picking up the 20 gold.
Well, as we get started on this one, it looks like it's a basic fan out from both teams. Nobody wanting to get any funky going. And another thing to point out, actually, is that Benuxus has that cleanse, which does remove a fair bit of the kill pressure that Lost and Mafia Goat have at level 6. Because we're talking about how Ashe, how Jhin, these kind of champions do well into Caitlyn. Varus with the ultimate is a similar principle where you just want to be able to get that one lockdown ability on the Caitlyn, and she has no way to protect herself after that. Now, with the cleanse, however, they do. So in this cleanse heal lane, it's going to be pretty tough for the bottom lane of Exeter to get much done aggressively, at least.
We're seeing Nibble having 2 mantra Qs going the way of Last, but Last this time wise to what is coming his way. And we will now be seeing both junglers starting on the bottom side of the map. And again, Melvin, highlighting to what you talked about before, that all-out aggression in the top lane.
Certainly. So level 1 isn't going to be too much, I don't expect. It's really the I would say if we had to put like critical levels on these lanes, bot lane, it's going to be level 2 that we see it start to get some push in for this Caitlyn Karma. Then for mid lane, not going to have much unless Sana really gets aggro. They do have the Ignite though, so this is something to keep watch on and see how they work with Trick 2D to get some value out of that and maybe even kill threat, because without the TPs that were so valuable last game, Sana will not be able to offer the same map pressure that Twisted Fate can.
I feel like this is something that we definitely have to talk about, as we are already seeing Evan playing aggressively on it to refresh, has the level advantage, and executes it beautifully.
And just winning out on that initial trade, not going to be too critical to the lane itself, but does set up for a potential dive if Gadunica wanted to just run their way up there. They don't have to base for the boots because they are not running the Predator this game. But something to look at right now is just the jungle gap with regards to clear speed. This is the benefit of Karthus, of when a camp is alive, it does not stay it for long. Trick2D are already about to get to their Krugs, and Gragas has only just started Wolves. Watch this right now and potentially see Effin get collapsed on with refresh to maybe make use of that early ignite.
And this is why Gragas is just not seen as much in the jungle, just cannot match the clear speed as some of the other prevalent junglers like the Hecarim, the Udyr, the Lilia, and in this case, Trick2D's Karthus.
And I don't know if I'm particularly happy with recalling right there as Trick2D, as we see that Refresh is actually pushed in this top wave, but it means that Effin could potentially look for a freeze. And with Gadunica in the area and Trick2D just backing to trade Skull Crabs, that puts this Camille in a very precarious spot where if they get collapsed on right now, they do not have much of a counterplay to escape from the flashes out of these two.
And Gadunica is looking towards the top side of the map. He's been able to take the top side scuttle as Trick2D will be making his way down and securing the bottom side scuttle crab. But you can clearly see that Trick2D is well ahead of Gadunica in pathing, having, you know, considering the fact that he's even in CS and has got his reset off already.
You can look at it right now. The first camp that each of them took outside the buffs has respawned now, but Gragas hasn't even finished their initial clear, whereas Karthus is already getting a chance to clear the skull and invade. They do get that ward down, which means that with the double vision on mid, Gadunica is going to be visible for pretty much the next few minutes, and we might see actually them just go for the straight up invade onto these Raptors that I don't dislike as a play. It definitely is one way to swing the tempo back in your favor, but they are going to have to waste a little bit of time just waiting for them now.
And you can see Gadunica just toggling the recall, and finally the Raptors have spawned. Trick2D, instead of making his way up to the top side, he's actually just going to try to steal away Gadunica's camps, but he does have to be careful because the mid lane priority is currently in the side of Bristol.
Yeah, that is this Twisted Fate just getting the push out. Did not get to see how many of the Raptors they ended up stealing. No, they didn't get any of them, so Gadunica actually getting themselves a little bit of an advantage there. It does even up the CS and get a reset camp, but now it means that they've almost got to make a hard decision point of if they go down to the Krugs, then what are they going to do? Are they going to reset after this? Because if you path up to topside, those camps are going to respawn in such a weird, disjointed order that it makes actually pathing very tough for you to make it a clean, almost just smooth motion. As we see Trick2D, they're just cleaning their camps from bot to top. They'll get to repeat that on the next clear, and they're going to continue doing so and just chain scaling. By mixing up the order of your camps in this early game, it means that you can just miss out on that XP that the enemy jungler is getting just by seconds, and those seconds add up, especially against the Karthus.
Seeing the disdain coming through on the top side of the map. Adaptive defenses. Oh, the beer beyond death. Snipes down refresh. First blood to Effin.
And that is matchup familiarity at its peak right there. Effin just running it through. As this early game Urgot, a champion that hasn't really been seen for all too long in the meta, will now get to see whether they opt for going into the Stride Breaker. Potentially we saw Kraken Slayer as something they went for earlier on. Or with the Tiamat pickup, it may just be first item into that Titanic Hydra that does amplify off of the legs. So it's a lot of damage potentially coming through, as Effin is going to have an insane wave clear in the near future.
Well, it was in game one that I wanted to bring this up, Melvin, and you'll remember me talking about it. And I preceded the question with, do you like items? Because Effin had opted to go for the Gore Drinker on Renekton over the Stride Breaker.
Yeah, they did opt to go for it on them, and it's kind of hard to say if that was the right decision or not in retrospect, because it just showed that they wanted to be in the middle of the team fights. The enemy had a lot of melee champions, so you can see why, because otherwise Renekton doesn't really do much in the fights. But on this Urgot, it looks like they're one of those champions that does not need to rush straight into Mythics. We see this commonly of Ezreal. Nobody else in this game really seems like a primary user of this strategy, as right now, Gadunica actually is just lurking mid lane with the yellow card, not going to get a stun in range, and Nice play from Sana.
First trick of the game is up 7 minutes in. Of course, in game 1, we didn't see any real attention towards that Drake until I think it was almost about 10 minutes into the game.
Yeah, so that is something at least. With the level 6 on the Twisted Fate and the Karthus, though, both teams are almost half dissuaded from making cross-map plays because it can always be just a numbers advantage suddenly in the other side, even not factoring in the 2 teleports that the Bristol squad has in their pocket. Oh, weapon, that's unfair.
Another
That's more
disdain
damage.
and another hook shot away from a refresh. As we're going to see the ultimate, the Destiny on the bottom side of the map, and there's a Karma running in very quickly, and Last just gets absolutely eviscerated. I think 3 abilities all landing at pretty much the exact same time, made his health bar just go pop.
And Chentang didn't even need to base off of that, actually just running straight from mid, gonna TP back in and not lose a minion. So really proactive play from Chentang, spotting a good window. And while Mafiago tried to block, oh, hold on, counterplay into top right now.
The hook shot comes through the Requiem on top, and this time is Effen's turn to die. Sana picks up the kill.
And that is not a mobile champion. If this Camille gets on top of you with backup, then it's in trouble. So wondering what Effen will do as we go later on, because this Urgot is going to potentially get similar plays like that put onto them if they end up in the side lane. So we may actually see that if Exeter run that back 1 or 2 more times, that Bristol just opt for going for full 5-man, will stand in the lane and just run you down. And there's not much you can really do about it, because like we see from Karthus right now, they're not very safe on their own.
Revenge of Effan, and this time he takes down Trick-or-Toot here. The blue buff almost gets secured in the process. Chentang will take down some damage. Flash forward with the gold card, lands on Sana, but the return comes through, and in comes Refresh. Sana will be able to find the kill, and is on the run as well. Just 1 kill going over to the side of Exeter in the mid lane. A fight as a tower force on the bottom side of the map. Mafiago's just going to get run down here. Flash forward, the auto. And the 90 caliber net to get Bernuxas back into range, and now it's going to be Last who gets run down. Ace in the hole is available. I don't think that'll be enough to take him down. No, a few hundred HP or just about 50 HP Last will survive on. And to be honest, I can't remember how many kills went to either team.
I believe Effen picked up that initial kill onto the Trick 2D in the jungle, then then Chentang dies immediately after that in the play, because a good collapse from Sana coming back in from them trying to dodge away with the yellow card does manage to pick up 2, so it's a 2 for 2, but tower advantage goes to Caitlyn and Karma. They get the first blood tower, they pick up a kill in the process, so you know, they're pretty happy with how that went in the end. I think killing off the Karthus with double buffs and giving that over to Urgot, along with collecting on that bot side gold, definitely in the favor of Bristol. You could see it in the numbers right now as they picked themselves up a pretty meaningful 3k gold lead at 10 minutes in. And now Caitlyn and Karma are getting to rotate into top side before plates have fallen.
I do want to highlight the proactivity from both the sides, because first, we saw Bristol with that gank on the bottom lane, courtesy of the Destiny. Then we immediately saw Exeter punishing on the top side, finding the kill onto Effen. And then Bristol said, okay, fine, you get that kill. We're now going to take Drake. And we just constantly see both sides are flipping. One side looking on one part of the map, and then instantly the other team looking onto the other side to find some kind of counterplay.
And you can see it right now on the minimap. Bristol does want to go for this kind of Rift Herald objective. They do not have the TP on Effen, but Exeter sniffing out, sending their bot lane to match the enemy bot right now. Relieve Refresh from this top side and let them reset and go cover Effen in the bottom lane. They will have TP advantage on the Camille, so if this Rift Herald play does not happen immediately, there's a potential for Exeter collapse, but actually they're just forcing on Caitlyn.
Requiem will come through as well. Hextech Ultimatum, and that actually, the Destiny got cancelled. Mafiago getting taken down low. Glacial Fissure will not find anyone, and somehow nobody dies.
That is pretty impressive from the Bristol squad to be able to disengage that. Chentang didn't see where they tried to do their Destiny Gate, but now Sana is being collapsed on. This is a Yone, though.
Body slam under tower as well. Sana's going to take 1 or 2, make that 3 tower shots. Godunica picks up the kill.
I have to admit, I don't know what I was expecting from the Yone without ultimate, but you've seen this champion do enough ridiculous things. Specifically, Sana on this champion do pretty ridiculous things across last game and last week. So you can't ever really count them out right there. If you don't know exactly what abilities they have up, something can always go crucially wrong. But big plate lead right now for for Bristol. If we look across the map right now, Exeter have only claimed 2 mid lane plates and none in either of the side lanes. Whereas Bristol, they have managed to go through, they have claimed all of the bottom ones, they're about to claim all of the mid ones using this Rift Herald, and that Caitlyn Karma is likely to collect all of the top lane ones. So we are seeing one hell of a return to form for the Bristol squad.
And remember, back in game 1, Bristol took the early game composition and they only had about a 1 to 2,000 gold lead at this point. Now they don't have that aggressive a comp, and they're about 5k gold up. Refresh getting run down. Fear Beyond Death will land. Effen just needs one more corrosive charge. The damage is coming through, and Effen will pull in Refresh and grind him down.
Just so proficient on the champion. You can see right now 35 CS lead over to Effen. They are also going to pick up another solo kill in this lane. And you imagine that Refresh just hasn't played against Urgot for a while. They've been out of the meta for the best part of going on a year and a half now, 2 years, I believe it was last time we saw them in super prevalence in that top lane. So just really dominating on this pick that if you don't know how to play against, another one of those ones similar to the Bard that keeps getting banned out by Bristol of, well, how do I beat that? When are they strong? Are they good right now?
Well, I do have a friend who's a dirty Urgot one trick, so maybe I need to give him a message afterward, tell him, you know, you can start playing Urgot again. Not that, to be honest, he's probably still playing Urgot. Dirty player.
You know, that's just how one tricks be sometimes, as we see that Bristol does secure that second dragon at 14 minutes, which means that that soul is going to be threatenable at 24. That is much, much sooner. I think it was the third dragon getting threatened at this time last game. So if you take a look at it, coming into this one, while the Caitlyn and the Karma don't collect every single plate, they pretty much get everything. And this is very heavily in Bristol's favor. Exeter are going for a desperation play onto Gadunica right now.
Explosive Cask will find his mark. Fate sealed comes through. Gadunica is on the run. So much damage. Hookshot comes in. Refresh will be able to pick up the kill. Although I think Sana was going to have the kill anyway with the extra damage from the Soul Unbound.
Yeah, they do pick that one up. Does commit both the summoner spells from Sana, though. That makes them pretty vulnerable in this side lane. And frankly, I think no matter who you stand against Effen, if it's one person, they can't stand against them anymore. So, gonna be pretty intimidating with this Urgot in the side lane. They are just farming up off of Krogs even. So much gold getting funneled into this. And if you look at how both comps want to play, Exeter, they have Yone and they have Camille. But the Yone doesn't have TP. So innately, you'd look at that and go, okay, well, with Karthus, it makes sense. You play 1-3-1. You have the Varus and the Braum, very stationary mid. They hard to move them. With the Karthus in pocket, they can wave clear pretty freely. But considering they don't have teleports on both of their solo laners, it means that 1-3-1ing is much more difficult for them than it is for Bristol, who can do that along with pretty standard team fighting well.
And it would be expecting to see Gadunica, Benuxus, and Nibble as that 3 in the mid lane. And right now, 6 kills to 3 in favor of Bristol. Coming in strong after their defeat in the opening game in the best of 5 for the SouthLAnder 2021 Grand Finals. We saw yesterday Swansea beating Bournemouth in the CSGO Finals, able to take a 2-0 victory. I'm just taking a look at items being completed. Only members who have not completed their mythics are Effen and Mafia Goat on the Brawl.
Well, Tritudia is about to finish theirs. They are pretty close. Let me just check the gold. They are at 950, which means they are, best part of 2 camps away, potentially a kill onto Urgot if they manage to pick that. But I really don't think they're favored, even in 2v1 here.
Oh no, Refresh going in aggressively, and now he's going to get bullied. There's a teleport coming through. Fear Beyond Death will not be able to find his mark. Chen Tang running on in. A flash forward. Gold card will land the autos, and the Everfrost does the rest. Mantra Q comes in. Another gold card. So much damage. And Chen Tang will be able to secure a double kill for Bristol. And they can continue to push her through in the bottom lane and pick up their first inner tower of the game as well.
And this is more like the form that we wanted to see from Bristol. Effen got ahead pretty much off of their own merit in this laning phase, actually. Trick 2D could have potentially helped out Refresh in one of those earlier levels, which meant that they were in a bit of an awkward lane state, but even as that happened, Effen has built up this lead almost on their own, as Gadunica has kind of just got to go around the map and pressure elsewhere. When you have this Twisted Fate with the Everfrost in tow, it is so much CC that you can just hold people still and let the Urgot, let the Caitlyn just chain DPS down anyone.
And we know the Persian disdain do so much for the Urgot. 3, 1, and 2, almost on 2 items right now. Effen is a force to be reckoned with, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Exeter banning away the Urgot in Game 3.
That certainly wouldn't seem unlikely. They had banned it in the second rotation of the first game, but with the Camille lock-in and opting to not ban away that as a counter, they clearly just didn't value Effen's Urgot. And with the Stride Breaker in tow, now it's going to start to get pretty nutty because this champion can close one heck of a gap with the Stride Breaker E-Flash. It's almost like a pseudo-engage, and when you have a pseudo-engage on a Juggernaut, that's a terrifying prospect to be against.
It's a very difficult situation that Exeter find themselves in right now. Effen strong, Chentang strong. So the question that I have for you now, Melvin, is how can Exeter get back into this game?
Frankly, okay, as we see Effen getting the Stride Breaker into E, forcing Sanna's ult. Not like that. It needs to be as a team forcing onto individual members, trying to collect on these shutdowns for both of the solo laners, because when you have a 1-3-1 comp, one of the way to punish them is to split up and just bop them, but that's not going to get to happen here.
Destiny now coming through on the bottom side, and that's the catch. That's the explosive cost. You could call it overkill with a teleport from Effen as well, but to be honest, I don't think it is at all. That is a lot of damage from the Requiem. Potentially the turnaround coming through from Exeter. Effen will be able to zone away Sana. He's actually going in 1v3. Surely not. Surely not. Glacial Fissure comes in. There's a hook shot. Effen is locked down. Effen is taken down. Hextech Ultimatum comes through, and Exeter are coming back into the game. However, the traps are in place, and it will allow Bristol a time to retreat. 3 kills for 1 in favor of Exeter, and they turn their attention towards their first Drake of the game.
Well, there's both of those solo lane gold collections for the shutdown, as we see Sana does not need the ultimate to make such aggressive plays. And when you line up in a choke point against this comp, you need to be very scared because a Varus Q running through the entire team, followed by a Yone knockup going through the entire team, not to mention the Requiem. It's a lot of AoE damage, and similar to last game, no true tanks. Urgot is a Juggernaut. That does not make them that tanky. They have to actually be shredding through and threatening. They still take a fair bit of damage at this point, haven't gone into things like the Stack, haven't gone into things like the Gargoyles. They take just as much damage as any other champion currently.
And the reason why I feel like it went so badly wrong for the side of Bristol is they used so much on that pick on Trick 2D, and they didn't need half of it. They didn't need the teleport. They didn't need the explosive cask. And then Exeter, when they wanted to take the second part of the fight, Bristol had nothing to fight back with.
Yeah, they really did just commit quite heavily onto getting that initial pick, but then they didn't instantly collapse back to the Dragon. An overstay, like you say, and when we take a look at the rest of the game from this point on, the gold lead has not really closed too much. Still a good 5.5k over to Bristol, but with one Dragon denied, and more importantly, a Cloud Soul in the first place, not really the biggest of win conditions, as Bristol just aggressively stepping up. Force Vision right now.
It is, but the Fate Seal will come through. So much damage. Sana finds one. Gadunica will be next. TP on in from Refresh, and Benuxas is going to be the next focus point. A Glacial Fissure not even needed. Sana is locked down. Effen looking to turn things around. The Fear Beyond Death finds a second fear, but now the turnaround. The collapse are through, and Effen will fall. It's an ace for 1. Exeter are back in the game.
And you turn around to try and kill the Yone, who's burnt all their abilities, and the Karthus? That isn't going to end well, and we see it right there. They get the fear onto Trick 2D, but they were happy. They just died there and pumped out the DPS at the end. And, crucially, something we haven't got to mention yet, Varus not going for the lethality build, because they're going for this attack speed crit build, means that this Baron is actually going to be in Exeter's favor. It doesn't look like anybody's going to get there in time. Teleport available for Chentang and 8, but the question is, who survives from Exeter with this Baron buff?
Refresh's solo will get taken down. Hook shots out to safety. Last but forced to flash away from the Mantra Q. Nibble still on the chase. He wants to try to deny this back for as long as he can. You can also see Chentang running in at 2 million miles an hour. Does not have the Destiny available, and Lost will be able to escape. So 3 members of the side of Exeter with the Baron buff.
4. Trick 2D managed to respawn just in time. I was watching the base right there. Sana did not get it crucially. So that is one side lane force that will not have it. That means if you are Exeter, you need to play this in almost a 1-4 kind of manner. Camille is your split pusher, and then you just try and keep them safe with the Urgot, but from the Urgot. Not going to matter here, though.
The Fate Seal comes through. Sana wants to play this defensively. Surely not going to be able to outplay this. Ace in the hole comes through.
Ooh.
There is no... Oh, almost. I tell you what, if Sana hadn't been, well, let's just say a scaredy cat and had actually used his ultimate aggressively, I think he would have beaten Effen there.
It was definitely close. With the Requiem coming up at the end there, it does get blocked by the Urgot shield immediately after it comes down. So not going to get much off of this Baron buff for Exeter right now. Most of, I believe it's about half the duration now is run through just from the escaping in the initial point and that play onto side. And especially considering Sana, again, has Ignite, not TP. That's great for the 1v1, but when you don't get the 1v1, I suppose there was a Caitlyn and a Karthus, so 1.5 v 1.5. But point being, when you don't win that, it means that you have no utility for getting across the map. And while Sana has been so big in these fights, if you can't make it to the fight, that doesn't matter. How long is it until the next dragon? Let's take a look right now. That's going to be, what, a minute until it's available? The Baron buff will be up for that duration, so we need to see Exeter get priority using this Baron buff, get the minions pushed in, and then try and take this second cloud.
Hookshot coming through. The focus is going to be onto Nibble. There's a teleport coming through. Hextech Ultimatum. Now the bang around onto Refresh. Chentang with the gold card will come through on it to Mafia. Meanwhile, Effen has found Trigger to Deer. Requiem is not available either. Trick 2D will just get run down. Effen looks for more. Refresh looking to turn things around. Now diving on in. Effen taken down a low. And Chains of Corruption not available for Last. They used them previously. I don't know if they were able to find their mark. That will be the Winter Spite landing onto Chentang. Potential turnaround. Fate Seal will not be able to connect, but it doesn't matter because Sana able to gap close onto Nibble, able to find one kill. Hookshot coming through. Good dodge in, but the turnaround. Gerdunica finds one. Mafia is low. Refresh will get auto down. Benuxus finding the kill, and Mafia is on the run. Winter Spite is huge, but Mafia cannot outplay this. He's trying to get to the Glasgow, not in time. And this time it is Bristol who find the ace for 1.
And playing on slivers for so much of that fight. Low HP bars across the ball throughout, but Exeter can't seal the deal. They never get the last hit onto these champions. Nibble goes down, but the rest of the squad gets to live just barely, having to flash out for the case of Effen and Benuxus during that play. But if we take a look, getting the dragon, puts them at soul point, and effectively wiping the Baron off the table, this is, again, back in the gold. They have got a lot of lead in this Bristol squad. We'll see where they decide to spend their money, how much they opt into defensive itemization, because against the enemy team, as long as you can avoid the initial pick, as long as you can avoid Sana's jump in, you can pretty much last through these fights, and we're seeing that Bristol now, playing the longer game, is going well for them.
One of the most surprising things is the fact that Exeter are able to find 2 back-to-back team fight victories, and then the moment they get Baron, they then lose 2 back-to-back team fights. So I feel like the game is in a very weird position right now, Melvin, where it does feel to me like either side can easily win this if they can get that one good fight.
Certainly so. This is not remotely as decisive as the first one. The scaling advantage is not heavy enough either way for it to really swing the game. The only thing I will note that right now is Last is 2 levels down to that of Benuxus on the Caitlyn. So in the team fights, the ADC is a bit more in favored of the Bristol squad, which means that when it comes to poking out, this is quite big because a single headshot can really half-bar every member short of Mafia Goat for the Exeter squad. So when it comes to these kind of team fights, I think that is where you need to be watching, seeing if Bristol could set up beforehand, get these traps down, because Last isn't able to get into the fight if they're completely zoned off by this Gragas, by this Urgot, by all these card champions, which is where the on-hit build that we see here starts to almost fall off, not by damage, but just by effectiveness.
And I just want to point out in that previous fight, we actually saw Sana going on in with the Fate sealed, looking for Nibble. You know, he wasn't trying to get in onto Benoxus, he wasn't trying to get in onto Chentang, he was going on to the support. And yes, I understand that sometimes when you have Enchanter supports, you want to find that engage onto them, but I don't know if in this situation that is the right call for the side of Exeter.
Certainly is, I think, fight dependent almost, because it depends on just how you're looking at it and who's available. I agree that usually you would want to take out Benuxus as opposed to Nibble. The only reason I would say on the contrary is if you're trying to get rid of that Karma who's just going to chain heal everyone. Because as we saw, longer fight favored Bristol. I wonder why. Oh yeah, they have a Moonstone Staff combo on this Karma. So that's something you need to be looking at too. If they can try and pop one of them early, then it means Trick 2D gets a lot more effectiveness off of this Liandry's. Because when they get the ultimate onto everybody, starts burning people down, then that is counteracted by the chain healing that Karma can put out, the big AoE shield onto everyone. So it's not always wrong to go for Karma. It's almost a lose-lose situation, because if you kill Karma, you don't kill the DPS. But if you don't kill Karma, then your Karthus doesn't get the DPS.
And with that, we are back on into game. Another thing I've been spotting is quite a few of these hook shots from Refresh have actually been sidestep, or Refresh has missed them. So if Refresh can really get onto the backline effectively with that Hextech ultimatum, that could be huge for all the side of Exeter.
And oddly enough, this is another point where the ignite over the alternative starts to show, because with that flash on Camille, you can engage from a disgusting distance away, basically a screen and a half. But because they have the ignite, it means that in these kind of situations, Refresh has to be almost opportunistic with who they ult onto, because they don't really get the option to jump onto the backline if they are not too far up. We saw in, I don't think it was the last one, but potentially a fight beforehand, we saw Refresh jump onto Nibble, who had the flash over a wall to escape. And while that did not result into the kill onto the Karma, they never really had the option to go for Caitlyn, because with the long range this character can offer, it means that Refresh needs to be almost getting flank plays or following up potentially after Sana to actually get onto these key carries.
27 minutes into the game, 3 Drakes to none in favor of Bristol. And they're on the verge of securing the Cloud Soul as well. To be fair, the Cloud Soul is only really going to help the likes of probably Chentang and Nibble, but still the ultimate
Effen.
cooldown reduction will be useful. Oh yes, Effen as
Yeah, that's a scary
well.
one.
Yes.
That was one that I was looking at like, oh yeah, Cloud Salt doesn't do much, until you remember when Urgot presses R and gets to sprint at you to try and get that fear onto everybody. We see the
Who
force
needs
play now.
Stridebreaker?
Yeah. Stridebreaker not really going to make the difference here, because an attempted force onto Sana and Trick Dudia, but the flash from Karthus critically blown before this Baron means they can't get into the pit now without a blast cone or having to just walk around the corner.
Refresh playing somewhat aggressively into Effen, but will just walk on out as the rest of Bristol slowly making their way down. Wall of Pain coming through, explosive cast, not going to knock Trick 2 here into the team. And that is a one key cooldown that is now unavailable for the side of Bristol.
Certainly so, but it's a shorter cooldown than that of the Karthus flash, so they can run back this play again. And really now it's just Bristol deciding if they want to just take the soul or if they want to try and threaten with the Baron. I would personally prefer them just resetting, getting the dragon, and then running to the Baron, because you know that Karthus doesn't have flash. And if you can set up vision ahead of schedule, Twisted Fate ult will be available. You'll be able to look for anybody that is trying to flank you, primarily Refresh, and then just jump onto them with all your members using that Cloud Soul movement speed you'll pick up.
Something that I do want to bring up is usually in team fights, it doesn't really matter if you kill a Karthus because he's still able to spam abilities. And actually, he can use his ult without being interrupted. But if you kill him before a Drake, sure, he can put out damage, but he won't be able to smite down any objectives.
That is true indeed. It means that they will just be sat there being a DPS, but definitely not an objective secure. And actually, right now, Exeter is resetting really late to this objective. Only 30 seconds available before the last person hits the base. And that means it's going to be so tough for them to get any kind of vision control. As you see, Brom is only going to pass the mid lane tier 2 tower, or where it would be, with 20 seconds to go. This is Exeter right now, late to the play. Caitlyn has time to set up. I frankly think they should just go force the Baron, because walking into this play is asking for death.
We'll have to see what Exeter look to pull off. This is pretty much a crunch time in game 2. Exeter need to find a fight, need to find a defense if they want to be able to take themselves to match-up point for game 3. They won the opening game. Drake down to 2,000 HP. Wall of Pain coming through. Drake down to 1,000, and it is secured by the side of Bristol. But can Exeter win the fight? Refresher getting taken down low. Sana here, but the Caitlyn traps are in the way, and it is stopping the side of Exeter from retreating. The Fate Seal comes in. Can Sana find the picks? Gadunica goes gold, and then Benoxas can just run down the members of Exeter. There's a Requiem, and Gadunica survives. No, the burn is enough. And it will be 4 kills for 2 in favor of Bristol. And now they can turn their attention towards the Baron.
And with 3 alive, it looks like they will just go for Baron, not opting to try and take an inhib on the way. Gonna go for the safer option, but we see Refresh actually TPing into top right now. The Karthus will be up in 23. They're never going to make it to this objective. This is only on Refresh. Are they just opting to clear that wave, or are they coming to steal it? This is a smiteless Baron attempt. And they are over the wall now. No flash, though. So this is opt-in or die. And it looks like they're not going to opt-in.
There's also no ward for Refresh either, so we can't even take a look to see how much HP there is on the Baron. And he steps on a trap, says, Benoxus, I don't really care if you're around. I will step on this trap anyway. But he does take some damage, and he will then retreat. So, Cloud Soul on the side of Bristol. Baron on the side of Bristol. 31 minutes into the game. But the base of Exeter still stands. For how much longer? Well, that is a different question entirely.
I would say less than 3. To end with the Elder plus Baron combo, as it is very much in Bristol's hands now. They have all the tools. Even with Refresh blowing that teleport to clear the top side wave, I'm pretty sure that Bristol know that because they walked into vision with home guards, which means that now they could even just opt for playing the 3 lanes, split them out like we were talking about from the start of the game. You have double TP, you have the Twisted Fate ult. You really cannot do much as Exeter to try and stop this just across map play. But actually, Bristol opting to play just the sides at the moment. I don't know if I like this as much.
Something that I do want to bring up is the Rage Blade has just been completed from last. Is this going to be a key point? Is this going to be a key pickup? Never mind the Destiny coming through. Fate Sealed is dropped as we've got the top laners who are duking it out on the bottom side of the map. Refresh will use the hook shot. Oh, the Fear Beyond Death comes in, and now Evan can just run in onto Refresh. Hextech Ultimatum will buy time. Hookshot over the wall, and I think somehow Refresh actually survived Trick 2D. Forced to go gold and will get taken down. Nibble picks up the kill. Just 1 kill going the way of Bristol on both sides of the map.
And Trick 2D are not opting to use the Requiem there, hoping that they're going to get a chance to respawn, potentially use that with a Rabadon's, but it's not going to happen.
I don't think they will be getting the chance to respawn. You said 3 minutes for the base to get broken open. I think it was more like 1.5 minutes. Gadunica low. Refresh just getting run down by the Caitlyn autos. A flash forward. The damage is unreal, and that is a 4th kill of the fight going the way of Bristol. They turn to the Nexus Towers. It's only Mafia Goat who is left standing, but he ain't no member of the Mafia, and that is a Fear Beyond Death already off cooldown. Bristol tie up the series 1 game apiece.
And that is it right there. Bristol with the clapback. That is what we expected in the first game, but it comes back 1 game a bit late. So it gives Exeter a means to actually get back into this series. 1 apiece, we're effectively in a best of 3 now. So looking forward, how do we want to see both of these teams adapt? Well, Bristol, very dominant performance, using their top side priority right there, and pretty much just playing the map better. I think if they opt for a similar style, Exeter are really going to mix up or need to mix up what they go for, potentially just get more standard lanes, get this Yone with teleport again. I don't think the Ignite really paid dividends for them. And the Varus, again, maybe a lethality build, something like this, didn't really get to do too much DPS in these fights.
And we can actually see on our screens here, I don't know if our viewers can see this, but look at the amount of damage that FN was able to put out on that Urgot. That is insane, and I'm fully expecting that Urgot will be banned out for game 3.
For reference,
it's never
is
coming back.
26,000 on the Urgot, the next highest 21,000 on the Karthus, and then the next highest is at 16,000, so exponentially more than everybody else. And we could see why it was banned in the second rotation of the first game. Effen, very dominant on this pick, playing into the Camille extremely confidently. So, what we can see heading into the series in the future, it's really just top gap right now.
But on that note, we're going to be heading into a short break, and when we're back, we will be bringing you Game 3 of the SouthLAnder Grand Finals between Bristol and Exeter. Stay tuned.
Money, definitely. Obviously, once spent, and now the objective starts up because Caitlyn's slow on the recall. She greeted. Oh, hang on.
We'll jump in. Oh, early smite.
Big
Sejuani takes it out. Zaka going
And
over the
she's
wall.
out.
Oh, the Zai flash over the wall, trying to chase it down. See if they can get any kills here. Huge feather. Oh, into cool. Oh, the feather calls. It was a 2v4, but somehow the Zai being so strong here just helps win them the fight.
And they managed to pick up 2 kills.
And like I said, Sammy was on the top side of the map, but he's actually. Oh, he's maybe coming bot lane now. He's
going
just
mad
running
mode.
straight in, finds
That's
the
gonna be all
first kill
3.
onto the Mordekaiser, and now looks to get the third there as well onto the Misfortune. Okay, Sammy Jungle just walks. Okay, all right, calm down. Just
I
goes
think he's showing off a little bit
just
now.
finds himself a triple kill. All right.
I mean, unfortunately, wrong place at the wrong time. Need to be killing the tanks.
Well, Sammy Youngle's now jumping back onto the back line, trying to see who he can find. Exeter GG will be able to get that ult down, but the steal comes through from Sammy, and now Harry the Machine trying to put the damage out onto the front line. Genton is untouched, however, but Rat looks to change that. Rydona gets the suplex over the wall, and we'll find that 1 kill, and now Rat is dashing down onto the Jhin. He secures himself a triple kill, and Genton is still alive. Rat looking for the claw, takes it forward. The flash comes through, and he's still alive. It's the heal from Harry the Machine. Will he steal the Penta? Rat not going to be able to go far enough forward as Harry the Machine secures the ace on the Caitlyn and moves into the base.
And that's a huge team fight for Rat. They'll look to just end the game here, but amazing play from him to be able to go in there using that team fight.
No, Misfits have just started drafting it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we jump on in for Game 3 of the day. Bristol taking on Exeter in the SouthLAnder 2021 Grand Finals. I'm still Milky Cereal, still joined by Melvin as well. And, well, Melvin, Bristol came back with a bang in Game 2.
Certainly so. Back to the form we expected from them in Game 1. Bristol come back after dropping the first game in pretty dramatic fashion to take back the second game in, once again, pretty dramatic fashion. As we could see from that last one, it was pretty much on the back of effort and just getting this Urgot in the top lane into Refresh's Ignite Camille, and they got themselves off to quite the solo lead.
I think so far it's looked like a very close series. I think there's a reason why it's 1-1. I think Bristol didn't quite get their draft right in Game 1. They came back strong in Game 2. Who do you think are the focus points? Now that we've seen 2 games, who do you think are the focus points from both teams? Who are the players to watch out for?
I think it's very clearly got to be Effin for Bristol. Of if this player gets ahead, the squad pretty much does run away with it after that, as they have been drafting Caitlyn plus something like Morgana Karma for the past 2 games. So I'm not going to necessarily say that it's Benuxus that we need to watch, but it's if that Caitlyn gets through is what we need to watch. Because Exeter have chosen red side, so pretty much both teams are happy running back the same sides in all 3 games so far, and we'll have to see. I think as far as Exeter's squad goes, it's going to be pretty dependent on Sana and if they opt for that Ignite or that Teleport, or better said, if they even get the Yone for a 3rd game in a row, because they've been a massive force in these fights, but if they aren't able to get to them, then can't really do that.
And I'm glad that you bring up the 2 of these points that I do want to talk about. One of which is, the fact that Bristol are on blue side once again. And the second one is whether we will be seeing Sana on that Yone. So far, we've now seen 4 games of Sana playing for Exeter and 4 games of Sana on the Yone.
Certainly so. And that leaves it down to Bristol of, while you did win last game, how much do you want to mix it up? Because they did get rid of the Sivir and the Evelyn in that game right then. That took Trick 2D off of their comfort for the past few games, and last had to resort back to what turned out to be the on-hit Varus. I think that they will probably change up their ADC. Mafia go again on that Brom, though. So really, it's going to come into this draft and look at to see if Exeter are happy with the last game's draft, or if they really just want to fundamentally change things and try a very different strategy to what we've seen for this series so far.
And we asked that exact same question of Bristol going into Game 2. Were Bristol happy with their Game 1 draft, or do they want to switch things up? They did switch things up. They went for that Urgot in the top lane, and I'm about 95% sure that the Urgot is going to get banned away. It was such a nuisance for the side of Exeter. I just can't see a situation, really, where they wouldn't want to get rid of it.
I think the reason that it came up in this second game was because in the first game, Exeter hadn't picked top lane, as I recall, until second rotation, so they were able to ban out the Urgot at that point. But in this game, they picked the Camille on 3rd, and then left Urgot open because they presumably thought this wasn't a terrible matchup. Now, regardless of whether that is or isn't, Effin made it a bad matchup as they got the solo kill at level 6 and then proceeded to dominate the lane from therein. So I also agree, but the only question for me is if Exeter hate it enough to ban it first rotation, because if so, that leaves champions like the Udyr, like these other power picks, the Seraphine, that you really do not want the blue team getting.
And we saw that Udyr actually banned away by the side of Exeter because it was Bristol who left it open. And Exeter had to run the risk of, okay, do we allow Bristol to have the possibility of B1ing Udyr? And they said, nope, we're just taking it away. We'll let Bristol do whatever they want. And Bristol ended up first picking in that Caitlyn. And actually, we do have to wonder, is this going to be another game of Benuxus on the Caitlyn as well?
As we hop into Champ Select, we see for the 3rd time in a row that Bard banned first from Bristol on the blue side, and the Seraphine. So at the moment, nothing too strange. This is looking like a run back for Game 2, which Bristol have got to be happy with if they can get a similar looking draft into a similar looking Exeter.
Hecarim ban as well as that Evelyn. We'll see now whether this is going to be the Sivir ban coming through. It's actually the Camille, which does mean that now I'd have to think the Sivir would come through if Bristol look for that Caitlyn bot lane once again.
And it is left open, crucially. There we go. There is the mix-up. Chentang actually taking away the Yone, not giving the option over to Sana. By the looks of it, this is almost just calling out, saying, well, if you guys aren't going to play Caitlyn, we can get your Yone and Caitlyn Morgana or Caitlyn Karma in the same rotation. So now, all the agency on Exeter, this is a different draft. You've got to spend all your seconds thinking very valuably. Do you want to counterpick Yone? Because, and most crucially, Effen and Chentang both play Yone. So this can go mid or top, and they decide Sivir, this is the way to go.
First off, that Sivir locked in, of course, not being banned away. It was banned away in game 2. We saw how much of a nuisance this Sivir was in game 1. Maybe this is the game now where we finally see Bristol not playing around the bot side like they did in game 1, like they did in game 2, maybe trying to play around this Yone. I don't think that Yumi's going to get locked in here, Melvin, but I'll hold my breath for one more second. There it is, the Victor locked in for Sana.
Okay, now, as far as the answer goes to Yone there, that is presumably just to try and get push priority against them and enable Trick2Deer to get stuff done. But the thing I want to point out is this is the first AP champion we've seen on stream Sana play. So that means that now Trick2Deer is going to almost certainly have to default to a physical damage jungler, which we also haven't seen, as we see a pretty deadly duo coming out, the Lilia and the Yone. Very new champions and very powerful, we'll say, for the Bristol squad, and a deadly duo of mixed damage.
Something that I do want to bring up is how does the Sivir Spell Shield interaction work with the Lilia Sleep? Can she use the E while the sleep is being casted by a Lilia to deny the engage?
I know that with Yone they can cleanse it, but I'm trying to think now with the Sivir. I believe you have to Spell Shield the initial ability. I'm not 100% on that. Because it is based on the Lilia sleep passive. I know that doesn't burn away the spell shield. I don't think I've seen that specific interaction as of current. I definitely did know it when the champion released, but I do not know now.
Well, we'll have to see whether that interaction can come through. The Kai'Sa, though, picked up for the side of Bristol, and the Alistair locked in for the side of Exeter to pair with the Sivir for last.
That is very, very different to what we've seen from Mafia Goat. The Brom going to the Alistair, pretty much the other end of the spectrum. And something that I'm looking at here is because we know that Nibble plays so much Rel, this may just be an Alistair lock-in so they don't have to ban Rel. Because, well, we all know that Alistair is meant to do well into Rel. It's a bit of a skill matchup between them, but it usually favors Alistair by default. And as we look forward how this draft is going to develop, what is it going to be focused out by Bristol? It looks like it's going to be the jungle pool, specifically those physical junglers that Trick2Deer could take.
And I'm very surprised. I'm not surprised that the Udyr is banned. We were expecting that. But I'm surprised that the Morgana has been banned away. Yes, it pairs well with the Caitlyn, but with the Kai'Sa, that's not usually the pairing. And now, the big thing for me here, Melvin, is that Rel is open. And with this composition, that could be huge for Bristol.
You can really see the follow-up. In the first game, I believe it was the Rel was banned away so it couldn't get paired with the Yone. And that is because when Yone jumps in, you can follow that up immediately with a Rel attract repel stun. And then along with that, there's obviously the combo of the Magnet Storm into that. But this is definitely not a jungler we're expecting to see immediately. And it is the Kha'Zix for Trick2Deer.
You asked for a physical damage jungler, and we have got it right here. Sion locked in for Effen, so it is looking to be a Yone in the mid lane for Chentang, unless we get some switcheroos coming through and maybe a Sion mid.
Possible, not all too likely, and seeing what gets paired with the
No.
Kai'Sa in the end.
Rel!
Ooh. No Rel.
Melvin, what's wrong with people? We've got Rel open, last pick, and it's not locked in. I'm disappointed, I'll be honest with you. I am disappointed.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you here. This is just a case of the defensive over the offensive. And the only thing that kind of strikes me as a bit odd is Kha'Zix usually kills you before the Taric ultimate will hit down. So as we head into this game, we see the Ornn last pick. And let's break down some lanes. Which do you all look at first?
let's not look at bot because I'm still disappointed about the rel, and I need time to
Okay,
get
okay.
over my dissatisfaction. So let's start with the top lane. Sion into Ornn.
Well, this is a standard tank v tank matchup. As far as it goes, Ornn does have the tools to break Sion's Q channel, which means that they can usually come out on top in these trades. Now, when it gets to level 6, it does become a bit different, as the Sion with the Unstoppable Force can pretty much force onto the Ornn with the Lilia. As far as the 2v2 goes, I very much favor the blue team's 2v2, especially after 6, as while the Lilia can't sleep the Ornn because they can always counterplay by going Unstoppable with the W, Kha'Zix has pretty much no way to get access to Lilia without running through Sion in this duo, so it's going to be pretty scary for Trick2D to get stuff done up there. While they can try and force onto Effin in the early game, they're not exactly a squishy champion this Sion. It's going to take them a while to tear through it. So I think in this specific isolation, I favor Bristol.
And with that said, Melvin, what is the focus for Trick2D? Because he doesn't really want to be looking at the Ornn because, well, it's an Ornn. He doesn't really want to be looking towards the bot lane potentially because it's Sivir Alistar and Victor. Again, it feels like a lane for the side of Exeter that just wants to scale up. And I get the feeling here that Exeter have essentially the opposite of what Bristol had in game 1. Just a power scaling up a composition. And now it's not a case of a child in a bakery with lots of lovely desserts to pick from. It's a child in a bakery post an apocalypse. There's nothing.
Yeah, Trick2D is going to be struggling for options heading into this one. As far as gank setup goes, Ornn is still Ornn, so they will be able to, but like we said, you don't really want to be ganking some because you don't get much done. So I think Trick2D is likely going to be hunting for that deer and trying to bully Gadunica in the jungle in these early levels, potentially look for assassinations. The only thing is, Lilia does very well at running away if they get to see you beforehand, so Trick2D needs to be very elegant with their pathing, skirting away from vision, and if they ever are spotted, the trade very much can go back in Gadunica's favor.
I'll be honest, Melvin, that was a pretty good joke. I'll 10 out of 10 for that one. Let's look towards the mid lane there, because so far we've seen 4 out of 4 games from Sana on the Yone, but this time they're the ones playing against the Yone with the Victor. What can we expect from Chen Tang?
Well, from Chen Tang in particular, they have a lot of proficiency on these kind of champions. Between them and the Yasuo, these are 2 of the most common bans against Chen Tang throughout basically every tournament they play at the current moment. They are very scary on this pick, and into the Victor is going to be pretty important for them to get through those early levels. I hope to see the teleport this time from the Yone, as so far Yone with TP 100% win rate this series, Yone with Ignite 0%. So we'll have to see heading into this one.
And then let's look towards the bot lane. I don't want to bring it up. This Sivir Alistar, I like it. It's a lot of disengage. You can't really do much onto them. But then again, we've got a Kai'Sa and not a Rel for the side of Bristol.
Crucially, this is ranged and melee versus ranged and melee. So Sivir should generally be able to get the push into this lane. But Taric does very nicely into melee supports because they can almost always guarantee they get their stun, because you're going to want to come into them. You want to be fighting as Alistar, you go forwards. Taric, they're happy to stand there and just give you the thumbs up as they stun you in your face mid-combo. And while it doesn't do too much to inconvenience Alistar, it very much is going to be a nuisance heading into this game, and I'm curious to see if we will see the phase rush or the aftershock Alistar to see if they're going to put more priority on the mid-game or just laning itself.
One thing that I do want to bring up with the Taric, because I'll try my best not to flame Bristol too much, because for those of you tuning in, they didn't lock in a certain rel, and that's made me very, very sad. But the Taric, you talked about how Trick2D on this Kha'Zix should be able to pop members of Bristol before the Cosmic Radiance comes through, and I would agree with that, Melvin. But when you look at the team fight in a whole, I think the side of Exeter have a lot of, let's say, preemptive sounds that occur before they start a fight. We're talking about the On the Hunt from the Sivir. We're talking about the Call of the Forge God from the Ornn. So a lot of the starts of the fight from Exeter, I feel, are very telegraphed. And I think it's also the same for the side of Bristol. When they want to start a fight, you know, they want to be dropping that lilting lullaby from Gadunica. And, you know, once they pull that trigger, the fight is definitely going to happen. It's not going to not happen. Effin, when he's going in with his ultimate, it's probably going to hit if all of the members are kind of grouped together and you know you will be getting a fight. So I think in that sense, Nibbles Tarek will work fairly well here for Bristol.
I do agree. When you have telegraphed engage from both teams, it's really which team can play reactive the best who will win the fight. And Tarek, like you mentioned there, very good reactive champion. They do an expert job of getting these Cosmic Radiances, and if they do them early, paired with the Lilia, that can set up into potential multi-person sleeps that is going to be deadly for the entire Exeter squad as we come into these fights, because again, we don't see that many pure tanks. We have the top lane now as actual pure tanks, but the rest of the map, they can still die in isolation. While Alistair and Tarek have their own defensive tools, these key champions in the middle the middle of the jungle and the ADC of both teams are going to be so squishy heading into these fights. So a sleep onto any of them, a Orno onto any of them, can quickly spell death for any of these members.
And it's a good point that you bring up as well. This is the first time that we're actually seeing tanks, real tanks coming through. We're not talking about bruisers in the sense of, you know, the Urgot, maybe even the Camille. These are proper tanks we've got. We've got a Tarek, we've got an Alistair. Those are your support tanks. But then we've got the proper beefy tanks. We've got the Sion, we've got the Ornn in the top side. So we're already starting to see some aggression coming through. There is no sweeper for Trick 2 there, so he's not going to be able to clear away that water. And he will just have to accept the fact that Bristol will have some information to his path.
And Gadunica is on this Lilia, a particularly deadly early threat. They can get a lot done, just power farm, similar to the Karthus we saw last game, but Lilia has a lot more scrapping potential. While they don't do all too much in a ganking sense, they can invade pretty well. And the thing is, against Kha'Zix, you almost don't want to, because there's the chance they just turn around and Q you once or twice and you're dead. But on Vision right now, question is, what does Gadunica do with this clear? And they're actually doing a pretty strange one that looks like they want to path into ganking bot lane level 2.
We'll have to see what the pathing exactly will be. Gadunica making his way down to his Crux. Trick 2 will 100% be on the bottom side, potentially for a gank. And he does have some setup, courtesy of the headbutt pulverizer from Mafia Goat. Something else I want to bring up, which was the Cosmic Radiance, and you talked briefly about how it could synergize with Gadunica on the Lilia, but I just want to bring that up a bit more in depth, because we know how important it is for Lilias to get right up into a team fight to be able to spread their passive to as many people as they can. Usually, they dive on in, they use their blooming blows, or sweeping blows, I can't remember what it's called, and then they go golem, because otherwise they'd die. But if they have a Cosmic Radiance on top of them, they can really run in and get as many passive stacks as they can without any threat of dying.
And I think it's not just for Lilia, it's also the Yone and the Kai'Sa. Both of these champions operate in a similar way, where they want to jump in, do everything, and then usually use some kind of defensive tool. For Kai'Sa, they probably try and stealth out after ulting in aggressively. With Yone, they ping back with their E. But when you have the Cosmic Radiance on top of any of these three champions, you can start to see how teamfights can go very one-sided for the Bristol squad if they coordinate nicely, which, frankly, they have been this series.
I think you hit the nail on the head as well, Melvin. It's a case of which side will be able to react to an engage, or which side can react to engages better. And of course, we'll see how that will all pair out in about 20 minutes time when we start to get those team fights. Unless we really get those 5v5s around early Drakes and Rift Heralds, which, I'll be honest, I am not, let's say, I'm not
ready for. Yeah.
I've lost English. I can't speak English anymore. You cover for me here, Melvin. I'm an idiot.
Alright, well, that's alright, because we see a top invade as Refresh tries to come down, does lose out on some minions though, but just with the push that Effin has on this Ornn, they are able to zone off the Ornn and the Kha'Zix. So while Kha'Zix picks up the small croaks, they do not get the most of them, and this is a lot of aggression from Gadunica. They're actually managing to force onto Raptors because Chen Tang briefly has prio here. Doesn't look like any large ensuing fight will happen, and Trick 2 will be able to claim those camps. But this is some of that early Lilia power we are talking about, where they can pretty much just run you over if you give them a chance.
At the moment, it's a slight advantage for the side of Bristol. Oh no, the gravity field, the CC, the collapse, the flash away from Chen Tang, but it will not be enough. Trick 2 picks up first blood of the game.
And that is a nice punish from these two. Go get the invade onto Raptors with support and Toba on the top. Refresh, potentially getting dived. The TP from Victor coming out.
And we saw this from Sana in game one. Good flash from Refresh, tanking up the damage. And Gadunica will fall. Beautifully played by Refresh and Sana. Flash forward, is that going to be enough damage? No, not quite. And somehow Refresh is still alive.
So nicely done from the top and mid duo of Exeter right there. Barely skirting around it. Sana's actually going to be able to pick up this farm because Effin is completely Nothing they can really do to threaten a kill on here other than die themselves and take tower aggro as a zombie farm. But this is really nicely played. I'm glad that Exeter have gone for this because you see Orna's just TP to mid to collect the big wave that Chen Tang was trying to push back in. But hold on, force onto bot potentially. Both junglers in range.
Planeswalk coming through. The Dazzle will be able to find his mark. There's going to be no way out for Mafia. Go. Can he flash over the wall? Don't really think he wants to. Benuxus picks up the kill.
And crucially does not burn the Alistar flash in doing so. Meaning they will still have it when it comes to actually going for these assassinates. As we see actually top play. Here's the 6 coming out.
The ultimate coming through onto Sana. He's forced to flash out to safety. And then Sana will trade back on into Effin. But Sana has pretty much no mana, so has to be very careful here.
Yeah, that is an important summoner blown. As we take a look from here, it is just priority going over to mid, and they're crucially still staying in this top lane. It looks like Sana's almost trying to bait for them to dive, and then hope that their Kha'Zix gets in.
Collab through onto Sana. The gravity field comes in, able to sidestep the roar of the Slayer, and Effin's just tanking tower shots. Will go into zombie side. Can he hunt down Sana? Sana will just back. I'm not even sure if he's in the bush or just backing and laughing at Effin at the same time.
And that is 2 dives successfully avoided from the Exeter squad. And it is this forced pre-6 aggression going all too wrong now for the Bristol squad. They are playing nicely in of themselves, but these coordinated plays aren't working the way they want them to. They do manage to pick up something in the bottom lane. And frankly, it's almost like they're defaulting back to the initial game 1 plan, but with a mutually scaling comp this time, which I think is probably the sweet spot that Bristol want to hit. It's just that their plays so far haven't really gone the right way.
So for Bristol, reminder to Bristol when drafting, don't try to draft stuff that requires you to force engages early on. We'll see whether they adapt their draft in that way in future matches. But for now, it's actually a fairly significant CS advantage for Effin on the top side of the map. 10 CS up. And he has a nice wave pushing towards him as well.
Crucially though, if we look at the jungle, where Lilia should be ahead in CS, Kha'Zix has actually managed to pick up a lead. Q evolved. They will be able to shred through any of these neutral objectives, as we see the Inferno's already gone down in Exeter's favor.
Exeter getting a very early Drake. I think that is the earliest Drake we have had of the series so far, picked up before the 18-minute mark.
Oh, and here's the aggressive sleep coming down, standing on your own field, but your jungler's here.
Sleep will come through, the Fate Sealed as well. That's the damage, that's the kill going the way of Bristol. Trick 2 there, steps up. It is too little too late for Exeter.
And while that does blow Lilia's flash and ultimate, nothing going to be picked up in return by Exeter. Just going to be Trick 2 Deer going back to farming. Sana, first time they haven't been able to nimbly get away from one of these plays. And I'm interested to see if they opt for the Everfrost this game, or if they just decide to go for the bog standard Ludens, potentially even the Liandry's. Right now, with that Amplifying Tome in inventory, that to me says no Ludens this game. I can't get away with the speed. So they're either going to go for the raw damage Liandry's can offer, or the Everfrost for the utility of disengaging this Lilia and Yone.
Wouldn't mind seeing an Everfrost coming through from Sana. But again, we will have to wait and see how the items do pan out. Gold currently 1k in advantage of Bristol. For those tuning in, this is the SouthLAnder 2021 Grand Finals. Bristol are currently tied with Exeter, 1 game apiece. And this is the 3rd time we've seen Bristol over on the blue side of the map.
Yes, both teams have shown their preference for the sides they're getting. And this is another one of those drafts where both teams have what they want as a full stop.
This is a lot of damage coming through onto Refresh. Surely he can't get out of this, and no, he cannot. Gadunica shows up as well. Will be able to land the Swirl Seed onto Trick 2 there. Does not have the Lilting Lullaby available. Not that I think he'd want to go fully in with the tower dive.
And getting a bit too big for their boots on this Ornn right now. Going very aggressive under that tower, just trying to trade back onto Ethan and break the queue, but they do not win the rock, paper, scissors trade there, where Ethan calls the bluff, says you're going to walk at me, barely manages to get the knock up, and does get the return kill. So that is going to be a full crash of the minions into the top wave. These minions are going to meet in the middle top, and it's pretty much just going to be a fresh restart. But we see Refresh parting to mid with ult. This could be a potential play on the Chentang. Okay, so as the dragon is being set up for by Exeter. Oh, I can hear you again.
Yeah, I was just saying, as Dazzle got burnt by Nibble, and Exeter decided, oh, we can take a trade. And now the Drake is up, and with Refresh on the bottom side of the map, this should most certainly go the way of Exeter without any real contestation from the side of Bristol, and Exeter will pick up their second Drake of the game.
And that will most definitively put them ahead in the Soul game. And this game, it will look to be a mountain. That is, you know, not the most impactful as far as it goes, but there are raw tanks in the top lane, so no matter which way these start to go, you can build up a lot of resistances and get some very hearty front lines heading into these team fights later on.
But with Refresh rotating down, while this has pretty much secured a guaranteed Drake for Exeter, which they did pick up, it has meant that Bristol have been able to further their CS advantage on the top side of the map, and it's now 40 CS advantage for Ethan. Dazzle not going to be able to connect on to Sana, and now potentially the turnaround, headbutt pulverizer coming through. That's a fair amount of damage on Chentang, but he will be able to return with the Soul Unbound as Gadunica shows up to make it a 3v2 in favor of Bristol.
And Sana playing so confident this game, even after the one misstep earlier on when they got flashed on by the Lilia. Can't even really call it a misstep, frankly. They did what they could. We see that actually, by the way, Benuxus just forced the ultimate out of last right there in the bot lane, going for the one-on-one assassinate, but Sana doing a great job of just skirting around on the edge on this Victor. Such a scary pick to be on when you're against such short-range engage tools, as it looks like Bristol finally get their Rift Herald.
There comes the engage, a Call of the Forge, well,
yeah.
Unstoppable Onslaught means you're unstoppable, so the Call of the Forge God does nothing.
Ooh, but because of this force onto the Rift Herald, they do manage to secure it, but Sana does get the push into mid. He's going to be able to respond with some potential plating there. We'll have to see if they actually collapse up with a TP, but this top lane tower just goes over pretty handily.
This could be the collapse coming through onto Benuxus. Boomerang Blade denied by the Killer Instinct. Teleport now being channeled by Ethan. Will be a 2v2 on the bottom side of the map as, oh dearie me, Sana has been caught out. There comes the full collapse. And Chentang will be able to pick up the kill. Boomerang Blade doing a lot of work. Flash forward, Mafia Goat can't quite get in range. Get slowed as well, and Gadunica will pick up the kill. Loss of the force to flash over the wall. Swellseed will not be able to connect, but it doesn't matter because the Spell Shield was available nonetheless for last.
And Mafia Goat throws out the auto just a ever so sliver of a second too soon, means they do not get the stun. Benuxus does get out, and that is a trade massively in Bristol's favor, even after this kill mid. Presumed kill mid.
Huge, and Chentang is on the run. Well, it doesn't matter. He tried to use the Soul Unbound, but he was always going to have to return and die at the end.
I think a bit short-sighted there from Trick2D, but Nibble was on their way. Could have potentially got something cheeky off there with the Cosmic Radiance, so, you know, not a bad flash, but does mean they won't have it heading into the next set of objectives. Dragon is spawning in the next 2 minutes, so when it comes to that point, if we see using this almost just heavy engage comp that Bristol has drafted for themselves, if they could set up just some choke points around these areas where Exeter would have to funnel through to get in, then we could potentially see some pretty explosive collapses between the Scion Charge and the Yone ult.
We are starting to get to that stage, Melvin, where we can expect to see these team fights. Everyone is now level 6, so ultimates are available for everyone on the map. All we need now is something to fight over, and we do have a Drake spawning in 1.5 minutes at a time, and potentially Bristol will want to deny Exeter making their way on to Soul Point.
Certainly so. The Rift Herald 2 is going to be spawning soon. We saw Bristol use that to collapse the top lane turret last time, so we'll have to see if they put a lot of focus onto this objective. Their vision indicates that they do want this Rift Herald. and then they're going to try and go into the Dragon after, but right now it just looks like they're pushing their top advantage, collapsing onto Refresh here, and they're probably a dead on.
Let's see what Refresh can pull out. Call of the Forge God comes in, but the knockup will deny the return. And, well, there is no way out for Refresh. Chentang picks up an easy kill.
And crucially, the Call of the Forge God being used there means it won't be up for this Dragon in 40 seconds. So even though the rotation won't come out as quickly for Bristol, they will not be able to, from Exeter, sorry, they will not be able to use that as they actually chase down this fight.
FN is making his way down, so what was a 3v3 or a 4v3 would have quickly become a 4v4. That's a lot of damage coming through with the Death Ray. And if Sana can successfully zone Nibble and Chentang away, there's going to be no way for them to make their way down to the Drake. This will be a significant number advantage for Exeter. And you talked before, Melvin, about what summoners would see for Chentang on this Yone. As the Lilting Lullaby comes through, this is a 3-on-1. The Dazzle on top, the Fate Seal, Sana flashes, but it will not be enough. Great layering of CC from the side of Bristol.
Certainly so, but what do they sacrifice on the other side? They will try and go for this first tier mid, but they lose the Dragon. That puts Soul Point on Exeter, and will a fight ensue after?
Mafia go very late to leave the bush and surely will get caught out. Killer Instinct coming in, Boomerang Blade doing so much damage, headbutt pulverize. The turnaround from Exeter lost, picks up a 1. Cosmic Radiance only on to Gadunica. It will buy time, but is it enough? Lost taken down, and Chentang will find 1. Effen will find another, and while Exeter looked like they initially had a good fight, it will amount to nothing. As Refresh will fall as well, make that what is effectively an extended ace for just 1 death in favor of Bristol.
And it was a good play by Exeter initially. Good zoning punished the enemy team for going for that initial fight onto Trick, Judea, and Refresh in the top side. They get the collapse, they zone them off, but they do not go back, and they get a bit too greedy with it. Bristol coming back with the counter punish while Exeter picks up the soul. That is now a 6k gold lead in Bristol's pocket. Watch these recalls coming out from Lily and Yone right now and see the inventories. Let's find out what they pick up and how they're going to use this advantage coming up to the Baron and subsequent soul point fight against Exeter.
Something that I want to bring up as well is with 17 minutes in, this is a 6k goal lead for the side of Bristol. That is huge. But if Exeter are able to get that final Mountain Drake and able to pick up the Mountain Soul, it's going to make things a bit trickier for Bristol.
Certainly so. If we take a look at the gold difference right here on the players now, you can quite clearly see there is a lot of top gap once again with regards to just this gold, as 2k over to the Scion. Now, while these are tanks, it's not so much about the gold. For Ornn, it's more about the XP. They need to be getting up to this level 14 mark so they can start upgrading people and getting that raw mythic value. Then across the rest of the map, about 1,000 in mid jungle and about 700 in the bottom lane. So across the board, gold leads for Bristol coming in. That means Exeter need to play these fights smart, and that doesn't look good.
Oh, Dazzle on to Mafia. Killer Instinct comes through. Benuxus will be able to pick up the kill. Gadunica on the side of the fight, able to find the Sleepies on to Trick 2 there. Will it be enough? Teleport coming through on the bottom side. Last getting taken down so low, and will get blown up by Nibble, and it will become a 2v2 once again. Teleport now coming through from the side of Bristol. Can they turn this around? Oh, Void Spike almost connecting, but the shutdown will go over on to Sana. Refresh on the run. Will be able to find a 3-man knockup, but it means nothing at all as Chentang picks up a double kill. There will be 4 kills for 1 in favor of Bristol.
An extra collapse right there. Sana TPing in, does manage to get the kill onto Benuxus, but not worth it right there. They're going to lose the mid tower. 4 members down, 3, sorry, now at this point, as people are coming back onto the map from how long that play started. That all stemmed from Mafia Goat standing in a bush that just happened to be warded. Good stun from Nibble. Follow up from Benuxus, gets the play. You can see there's actually a 2-level lead in this support role. This Alistair isn't able to get much done at the moment, while it still has the same engage tools. Mafia Goat is just falling behind, and again, doesn't matter too much for support leveling, but considering just the gold lead, if you look, Tarek sat on the Mythic right now. Alistair is basically on Moby Boots. Just the stat difference is insane between the two of them at the moment.
And don't forget, this is Mafia Goat on Phase Rush. He's not tanky, and we saw that before, that collapse. The Dazzle that landed onto Mafia Goat into the Killer Instinct from Benuxus, he just blew up. And, well, Mafia Go has absolutely zero tankiness and, well, doesn't have any items to be able to really make that phase rush, make that movement speed help him out massively.
When you're behind on an Alistair, when you don't have the aftershock, you need to preeminently pop your ultimate in these fights to try and just survive the initial burst, because you do not get through the Yone, you do not get through the Kaiser's first rotation, you will be down to 25%. And at that point, it didn't even matter that you get the reduction from your ult. So it means that Mafia Goat needs to play these fights a lot more proactively from Fog of War. We saw that play around the dragon that backfired for Exeter, looked good for a moment, but ended up going completely in Bristol's favor and has pretty much handed the map over to them. I don't really see a good way for Exeter to be able to contest this dragon that's up in a moment.
Ethan stepping up. Does he want to take the fight on to a refresh? Q will get dropped in. Bristol just setting up a vision.
Oh, I like it.
Do
I like
Exeter
this.
look to rush down Baron here?
I think this is a great idea. You have the Kha'Zix evolved Q and W, and this is the best way to stop them taking the dragon. They need to send all 5 members, but you're funneling right now. You're going to get Ornhorn. Let's see if Exeter disengage from this. Ah, that's really good. That just completely debates the entire enemy team and leaves them split up. They can maybe even look for a secondary force right now.
But does this mean that Bristol look to take the Baron themselves? Because you can see Chentang making his way down. He's looking to solo pick up the Drake. And there's going to be pretty much no way for Exeter to really contest this. They don't know that Chentang is picking up the Drake by themselves. I think this will just go the way of Exeter, or Bristol.
Certainly will, and I really would have liked it if Exeter had just gone for the big force right there. Clear out the vision. They did have 3 sweepers in inventory, along with some control wards. Get rid of the vision on Baron and in the immediate area, and then the second the enemy team funnel forward, and they haven't committed all 5, you could just turn onto them. Because when Chentang went down to that bottom side, if you don't see them, that Yone is without TP. This is a person who you can force on, and the the Sipper may be about to get picked right now. Or Kha'Zix.
And Trick 2 there taking so much damage. San on the top side in a tricky situation. Gadunica is showing up. Will he be able to land the swell seed? Well sidestepped by San and nobody dies. Trick 2 there taking incredibly low.
Still has the flash available. Again, unlike the Karthus game, they do have a jump with Kha'Zix, so you can always threaten a Baron steal if this Kha'Zix is alive, which means that Bristol need to play a very reserved style. They need to play it a lot more passively and try and, get a nice clean end off of this. Try and secure that objective off of some overextended picks. As something to note right now is this Yone, no TP again, is in the side lane. We could see a collapse from Exeter if they want to, but the main reason they haven't so far is the vision. They don't get to have vision in this jungle. They've only just recently been able to push up with Mafia Goat, but since the Alistair can't face check really, there's always the threat of just getting popped like they had in the other push.
Another thing to bring up as Nibble potentially getting caught out here. Benoxus is nearby. There's a teleport coming through from a refresh on the side, but in the end it is not needed. As the side of Exeter do back off. But something you brought up earlier, Melvin, was the fact that, never mind, we've got Call of the Forge got coming through, will land onto Nibble. Is this the pick? Cosmic Radiance cannot be channeled in time. Exeter find 1, but can they win the rest of the fight? The little team lullaby comes through, flash away. Killer Instinct in behind. Benoxus will be able to find 1, but in the meanwhile, Exeter will just win the fight in the river. Evan is a tanky. How much time can he buy? A hell of a lot of time, but is it enough? Chentang and Benoxus. Chentang dropping down the Soul Unbound, but that is all not following up with the trade, and it is a 2 kills for 1 in favor of Exeter. Crucially though, Exeter cannot turn this into anything meaningful.
And you just saw right there was the ADCs swapping. That was Benoxus just diving straight onto last. All the peel had left them, but this is actually going to be Trick 2 going down.
Oh, Trick 2 gets caught. The Void Seeker comes in. He's on the run. Can he find a way out? Gets knocked up, gets taken down, and Chentang is dominating.
Benoxus coming up so big in that last fight, managing to get rid of the Sivir that would have been able to actually start to rip through that Sun, means that now they get priority on the Baron. They're going to be able to send the TP, and everybody is committing, but Smite is crucially not there. We could see a bit of an awkward steal by the Sivir, potentially, if they don't wait for Lilia to be in range, but right now, not looking like that'll be the case, as Exeter backs off, and this is just going to be handedly a 5-man Baron over to Bristol.
Well played by Bristol, using the recall timers perfectly in their advantage. They secure the Baron 24 minutes into the game, and Last is actually getting caught out as well at the same time. Will be able to drop down the spell shield and able to walk on out to safety. But now it's a 5-man Baron-empowered Bristol. Will be looking to crash on in to Exeter. Exeter still have their entire base standing.
Certainly so. So what can get knocked down off of this Baron buff? I think with the Cosmic Radiance up, I just want to see Chentang shove out this bot side and then group as 5. You don't need to be threatening multiple lanes with the Cosmic Radiance available, because you could just run through. Sion could frankly tank the turret for the best part of 25 seconds at this rate. So really, it's just pick a lane, send everybody to it. This is fine for FN to be here on their own because it takes so long to force anything onto them that Bristol could basically be in the base before it matters.
And now we can see Bristol just pushing in on the bottom side, pushing in the mid lane, looking to get this, well, what is practically a 1-4 split push through. Refresh will push in the top wave for the side of Exeter. Maybe even look to secure an outer tower as well before recalling. And I think Exeter will have to concede this bot lane inner.
Certainly looks like they're happy to give it up. They have Sivir standing mid right now, so it's clear that they want to try and keep this mid lane available, as they don't care as much about bot. But look at this, Dragon up in 22. Bristol can turn this into an inhib and straight loop round to that after.
Chentang going in with the fate sealed, and well, SouthLAnder's fate is more than certainly sealed. That's the kill going the way of Bristol. We talked about turning towards the Drake. They might just very well go for the end. Melting Lullaby is available for Gadunica. He will pull the trigger, and the focus is going to be on the Kha'Zix. Bullet Forge got by their time. Cosmic Radiance comes in. Now the tower dive for the side of Bristol, looking to clean things up here, but they won't be able to find any damage. It's well played by the side of Exeter. Now they can look to turn things around. Searing charge in. Gadunica goes golden, and Refresh will get tagged on his way out. Onslaught of Shadows, or pardon me, Unstoppable Onslaught comes in. Chentang will be able to find the kill onto Mafiago, and it's still 5 members of Bristol sieging in. One Nexus tower will fall. Surely the second will as well. 3 members of Exeter looking to defend. Effen will be able to find the 2-man knock-up, and Nibble has flash, able to flash over the wall. Effen will just be able to tank up the tower and run out to safety, but Trick 2 there on the chase. Spell Shield will deny the knock-up, and FN surely can just get run down. The Drake will get started up by the other members of Bristol. Boot spikes find their mark. Out comes the Boomerang Blade. FN is so damn tanky. Will he not die? Trick 2 there, leaping forward. The blast cone has been set. Nibble will fall. Was patiently waiting for his top laner to take the blast cone for both of them out to safety. The Drake was secured by the side of Bristol, but Exeter able to find 2 kills. Now Chentang looking to cancel back. Look at the damage from the Yone, but can they find something while he's CC down? Yes, they can! And Sana picks up the shutdown.
And really greedy from Chentang to go in the end right there. They thought they could pick up 2 and potentially just walk down the enemy mid or top inhib with their team on respawn. Does not manage to get the hyphy play at the end there, and gives over a 700 gold shutdown to Victor, crucially. But to recap what we just saw there, Effen and Nibble went so beefy in that play, got a 5-man Cosmic Radiance, dives in, manages to secure one of the Nexus turrets of Exeter. They proceed to split up from there, sending the carries to the Dragon, and you saw Trick 2 Deer and Last tried to rip through the sum, but they simply can't. Between them and the Taric, so much armor, so tanky, survived for a ridiculous amount of time, managed to walk out, actually get counter kills in the end from how long it took to die, and most importantly, 2 mountains for Bristol now. They've broken base, now they could just play it slow and use this Baron to end out the next Baron to end out the game.
Don't forget, this is the lethality Sivir from Last. This is not crit Sivir. She does not have the ability to burn through tanks like Effen. Like even Nibble, Gadunica with that little bit of armor pick up, it's going to make things so much more tricky. Alistar forced to burn the ultimate after the dazzle does land. The siege coming through now from the side of Bristol on to the mid lane inhibitor tower. One of 2 inhibitor towers that still remain for the side of Exeter. Voidseeker will connect onto Mafia, but there is no more of a minion wave for Bristol to continue the siege.
And because of that Alistar ult being down, that's 2 minion waves, they have to be able to fight without being able to counter-engage using this Alistar, else they will certainly get popped.
Refresh trying to buy time. He gets a lockdown by the Dazzle. Q comes through, but look at the damage from the Boomerang Blade from Lost. Just throwing a Boomerang Blade after Boomerang Blade. The ricochets as well. Chentang not able to find the knock-up spell. Shield comes through. Collapse onto Chentang. Will it be able to survive? Lost though, taken down. Evan under tower with the Cosmic Radiance as well. This is the full collapser from Bristol. Look at the damage though. Mafia go able to find one. Finds a shutdown onto Benuxas. Evan is tanky, but does he have to damage the nibble, pardon me, so low. Trick 2 Deer will fall. It's just a refresh standing. The minion wave has crashed in through the bottom side, and the final Nexus tower will fall. It doesn't even need the members of Bristol to be there. Evan is just going to chase down Refresh, while the other members of Bristol march on into the Nexus to claim the game. They will just pad their KDAs, or I should say pad their CS numbers slightly, but Bristol will take the game, and Bristol will take us to match point over Exeter.
And Ethan quite literally going so big in that game. With them and Nibble, they absorbed an insane amount of damage. As soon as that game started to tip over into Bristol's favor, once Exeter lost that pressure on the Dragon Soul around that 4th Dragon fight, then the game truly went into Bristol's pocket. They managed to use that leverage that they had in the middle lane, and they didn't even get punished for not having teleport on Chentang's Yone that game, bringing up the Yone Ignite win rate up to 50% this series.
Well, Chentang showing, whatever you can do, Sana, I can do even better. Pulls out the Yone, makes it work. Ethan, again, what a performance, this time on the Scion. And, well, Exeter, they had a chance to switch things up for Game 3. They tried to do that somewhat. They got their Sivir pick, and Bristol didn't care. They picked tanks, and all of a sudden, Lethality Sivir just does not have the same impact.
Truly so, and it almost felt like you would have liked to swap the two ADCs and maybe have the crit Varus this time who can actually do something to tanks, but Sion is just so ridiculous in this current meta, and Ethan piloting it so well. They get a lane lead on their own again, and that is the critical point we've seen. In both of the games Bristol win, they have got Ethan a lead, and it's usually just off of him solo killing or solo getting a lead, and that does come off of Gadunica pathing to this top side, alleviating pressure, removing Trick Dudia from the equation. And while I wouldn't say the Kha'Zix was a bad pick this game or a particular issue, it didn't get to really run through the objectives. They never got to sit at the Baron and just let Kha'Zix rip it in half. So when it got to the later stages of the game, this Taric just kind of eclipsed them in effectiveness, and well, wasn't much they could do.
On that note, we're going to be heading on into a short break, and when we're back, we'll be bringing you Game 4 of the series. Bristol lead Exeter 2-1 in the SouthLAnder 2021 Grand Final. Stay tuned for more.
Money, definitely. Obviously, once spent, and now the objective starts up because Caitlyn's slow on the recall. She greeted. Oh, hang on.
We'll jump in. Oh, early smite.
Big
Sejuani takes it out. Zaka going
And
over the
she's
wall.
out.
Oh, and the Zaya flash over the wall, trying to chase it down. See if they can get any kills here. Huge feather. Oh, into cool. Oh, the feather calls. It was a 2v4, but somehow the Zaya's being so strong here just helps win them the fight.
And they managed to pick up 2 kills.
And like I said, Sammy was on the top side of the map, but he's actually... Oh, he's maybe coming bot lane now. He's
going
just
mad
running
mode.
straight in, finds
That's
the
gonna be all
first kill
3.
onto the Mordekaiser, and now looks to get the 3rd there as well onto the Misfortune. Okay, Sammy Jungle just walks. Okay, all right, calm down. Just
I
goes
think he's showing off a little
just
bit now.
finds himself a triple kill. All right.
I mean, unfortunately, wrong place at the wrong time. He should be killing the tanks.
Well, Sammy Youngle's now jumping back onto the back line, trying to see who he can find. Exeter GG will be able to get that ult down, but the steal comes through from Sammy, and now Harry the Machine trying to put the damage out onto the front line. Gentin is untouched, however, but Rat looks to change that. Rydona gets the suplex over the wall, and we'll find out 1 kill, and now Rat is dashing down onto the Jhin. He secures himself a triple kill, and Gentin is still alive. Rat looking for the claw, takes it forward. The flash comes through, and he's still alive. It's the heal from Harry the Machine. Will he steal the Penta? Rat not going to be able to go far enough forward as Harry the Machine secures the ace on the Caitlyn and moves into the base.
And that's a huge team fight for Rat. They'll look to just end the game here, but amazing play from him to be able to go in there, using that team fight SouthLAnder to its full advantage.
Okay, well, he's looking to recall now because he does have the horn. It's a 3-man knockup, and now Samwise is moving in onto fight the back line. Rydona is untouched, but does it matter because Harry the Machine is the one doing the damage. He's found himself a double, it's a triple, but he goes down before he can find the penta. Now it's up to Pappy. He's running it down with the empowered Q. Just a few more autos onto Rat. Is he going to be able to find them? He's not. And it is a 4 for 3 in favor of Portsmouth.
Team fight. Yeah, so how now that MF is going to be part of this team fight, they do go and they go try and burst down the Chun. Chun does flash away. Stun doesn't come off from the Sejuani. Norse now is running just through the team, trying to get MF does hit onto 3.
Huge
Speed
MF
damage. Velcro's though trying to apply with his own ult, trying to do the damage. Does end up falling down. How the carries only MF now and trying to alive. Pappy the Dark and the Velcro's trying to chase down. Will end up being the flash from the MF. Will be able to kite away. Fatfam managed just about to use.
Yeah, there's a lot of money, definitely.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're jumping on into potentially the final game of the SouthLAnder 2021 Grand Finals. Bristol taking on Exeter. Melvin, Exeter were able to take game one and they looked strong, but Bristol have come back with a bang and now lead the series at 2-1. What's going wrong for Exeter?
Well, I'm going to start off this point with a little anecdote. Fun fact, 100% of the times I have represented Exeter in a final, we lost 3-1. So, I think it might just be an Exeter curse coming through right here, as it doesn't seem to be going too hot for them. They started off the series very strong. It was almost a strange showing. Bristol looked all sorts. They had a bit of an askew draft, but they've got themselves together, and right now, I would say top lane is the problem. They need to get Effin behind.
They did it in game one. When Refresh was on the Jacks against Effin's Renekton, they did a fantastic job. Against the Urgot, no such luck. Against the Sion, I'd even say even less luck. That Sion had a 20-30 CS advantage. We're jumping on in to picks and bans. What do you want to see Refresh putting out in the top lane?
I think it's less so about the pick. I want to see it be a counter pick because they performed very well in the Jacks. They performed very well in the Jacks last week as well. So obviously this is one that you would like them to default to, but that only works if it's a beneficial matchup. So what I want to see is both teams leaving their top players to second rotation and trying to get the counter pick for Refresh in this lane. Because if they do, then they could start to play for the rest of the map a bit more, and Trick Dudia becomes a bit more unlocked. Because Gadunica, funnily enough, is very well practiced at keeping top lane ahead when they do get ahead, and just minimizing any attempts at counter-attack in that lane, as we see the Camille is taken off the table again.
Bans look very similar, one might even say identical to what we saw for game 3. The Bard, Evelyn and Camille banned by the side of Bristol, who are once again, for the 4th time today, over on the blue side of the map.
Certainly so. Both teams are happily locked in on their areas that they are at, and the question is, it's going to be Udyr, so will this be another first pick Yone from Chentang to take away? Yes, it will.
Well, Chentang and the side of Bristol said, look, if Sana's good on the Yone, and we're good on the Yone, why don't we just pick the Yone first and slaughter them? And it worked in the last game. Let's see if it works again here in game 4, and let's see what Exeter's response to the Yone is.
And it does beg the question, to me at least, of because you know for a fact that they're going to run back a similar comp, and you had choice of side as Exeter, they chose this red side again. Why would you not take blue and force them to ban the Yone? And that means that you could get things like the Evelyn potentially. You could even get this mysterious Bard we've not got to see all series. But as we look forward right now, it is the Caitlyn, and that is going to be a blind Corki. Oh, no, sorry, Corki into the presumed mid Yone even. That could still go Yone top, is why I said blind.
Interesting. The 7 now being hovered by the side of Bristol, but interesting that Exeter have, well, 2 picks. I mean, Corki without a doubt, but Caitlyn as well. Come the late game will be so strong. Of course, Caitlyn is strong early game as well, but has that kind of power trough in the mid game as a Karma locked in for Bristol.
And the thing is, looking at this series so far, we've seen that Mafia Goat hasn't really played the Enchanters. They've been on Brom, and then Alistair. And the Caitlyn Karma and the Caitlyn Morgana has showed a decent amount of success for Bristol. The question is, will they pull out the Morgana here that isn't particularly great into the Karma itself? Or will they opt for something else? As it looks like it's going to be running back the Alistair from last game.
I like tanks. I don't want to see no enchanters in the bottom lane. I like all of that engage coming through from my supports. But let's see what Nibble can pull through on the Karma. So far, the Civet has a 50% win rate this series. Once won, actually, 50%, yeah. It was won by Exeter in game 1, and then Exeter lost with it in the previous game.
Don't worry, Caitlyn has the same scenario for first and second game. So right now, both of these ADCs are flipping it with the draft. But as we take a look at the second rotation bans, there goes that Urgot that Effin pretty much solo stomped the game with in game 2.
And the Sion taken away as well. This is a lot of focus towards Effin. And I have a feeling, Melvin, that maybe the coaches are listening on into the stream. And they've said, you know what? Melvin's got a good point. Let's counterpick top lane.
Yeah, let's not let Effin just get away with murder for the 3rd time in a row. It would be they didn't really get away with anything in the first game, so They're hoping to get for it, and you know what? Clearly they're not the only ones listening to the stream, as there goes the Jax, taking away from Refresh their most successful pick, as that's not a jungler. That's not a jungler at all.
That's not a jungler, and that is not exactly a top laner that can't be counterpicked. Because there are a lot of things that can bully that KL.
Just a hover. Okay, there's the Kha'Zix. They're getting the run back from last game. As we saw, they have resorted to this. So, to be fair, Bristol could have seen this coming. And they don't have the Taric this time. They have the Karma, which, similar concept, but since it doesn't give you free armor and give you these resistances and immunity, shields can only do so much, especially with the introduction of Serpent's Fang this season.
There is no way that Blitzcrank gets locked in. There is no way. That's better. A Malphite coming through in the top lane for Effen. That's a big engage that could be coming through onto the Exeter backline.
Also a lot of armor. So looking at this pick, actually, before we talk about whether jungle it gets paired with, it's going to be the Karthus, but this is a blind Malphite. These kind of tanks can get punished by things like the Cho'Gath. It isn't something that we particularly associate with Refresh, so we'll have to see what they opt for to go with it, as there are a lot of champions. And something to note is that Olaf ban, by the way, we didn't really mention it last game, is focused at top. Refresh is an Olaf top player. So right now, their top three of Camille, Olaf, Jax, all banned out. And this is the carry pick they resort to into the Malphite. They're going Irelia. That's exciting.
That is exciting. Not going to argue with that at all. Irelia top is exciting. But it's into a Malphite. Is that good or is that bad? I don't know.
You know what? I'm not going to say it just this moment. Not because of that, but let's talk about bot lane, because I've got something I want to mention when we get into the loading screen about this specific matchup.
Okay, so let's talk about bot lane then. We've got Caitlyn Alistar versus Sivir Karma. It's a engagey, pokey bot lane for the side of Exeter against we run really, really fast bot lane from the side of Bristol, and we poke a lot.
This is going to be priority quite handedly going over to the Bristol squad unless something goes critically wrong. Double ranged will always outpush single ranged and melee just because you get the bonus auto attacks. Mafia Go isn't given the same ability to be able to actually get stuff done, you know, because they can't walk up to these minions. They will get poked out by the Karma, who did receive that buff on the most recent patch, reducing Q cooldown by a full second.
Something else that I do want to bring up is you talked about how the Sivir Karma is going to be able to have the push for the side of Bristol. We saw this in game one. And Gadunica focused way too much on the bottom side of the map. That being said, he was on the Nidalee, which is a champion that can gank pretty well. This time on the Karthus, he's going to be power farming, and maybe this time we won't be seeing Bristol getting as tunnel visioned on, we must gank bot lane and kill them.
I certainly agree with you there. Right now, that would be not only troublesome, but also just difficult for Gadunica to do much bot lane. When your lane's pushed in as Karthus, the best gank you can do is the R button, so expect to see them power farming for it. But crucially, though, that's a Kha'Zix into Karthus. Now, while Karthus does farm faster, Kha'Zix has an insane amount of kill threat onto that champion, even from level 3, so we might see some tricksy invades if Trick Duty is feeling himself.
There is one other point that I would like to bring up. We were talking about the Sivir 50% win rate. Sivir's win was against a full squishy team. Sivir's loss happened to be against this thing called a Scion top. This game was Sivir against. The tankiest member is what? An Alistar? The Alistar might even be running phase rush, so it won't even be that tanky.
Yeah, completely so, as, you know, that is just the nature of the lethality build. Mirror Mana also receiving a big buff on the most recent patch. So, Sivir, a prime user of this build with the Duskblade, does make them not necessarily the biggest teamfight force. They've always been better, especially for tank shredding, but right now they are a scary threat when you are a squishy, because that Q can get the double bounce on you, and it is basically half your health bar gone at that point, especially heading into this mid-game.
But I do like this Trick 2D pick on the Kha'Zix once again, because you're looking at the Karthus, you're looking at Yone, Sivir, even Nibble on the Karma. A lot of squishies and a lot of pick potentials for Trick on the Kha'Zix.
And something to just look at how the nature of these comps want to play. Exeter pretty much locked themselves into 1-3-1. They need Refresh and Sana to be doing at least decently in these side lanes, so they can resort back to almost how they play around the Evelyn, of getting the side lanes ahead and then just having your jungler lurk around that area. And then you try and collapse onto them, force a play, and then loop back in and make the 4v5 happen. This is how Exeter have usually gone about playing, and it's something that they have the materials to do. It's just if they don't lose that much in topside, if Refresh can really show themselves against this Malphite, or what I was going to say, and I was waiting until now, potentially against this Yone, because I might be smelling a potential lane swap between this Irelia and Corki.
Oh, okay, a lane swap. We'll have to see whether that comes through and whether we'll be getting a Malphite mid and a Yone top. If it's a lane swap, do you think it'll be still Chentang playing the Yone, or will he be on the Malphite?
I think Chentang definitely will be on the Yone, as it is in their favor, as it looks like that is what we are going to have this game. But I think that they might send this Irelia potentially to mid, because when you are against the Karthus, the enemy doesn't exactly have that much gank threat pre-6, and one of the reasons you don't send mages like Karma, like Corki, these kind of champions to the top lane, is because they're very susceptible to getting dived and getting spam ganked. But Irelia can handle themselves more than well against Yone, and more importantly, against Karthus, you're not really under that kind of threat in this early game.
Something else slightly different that I've just spotted and I would like to bring up is, yes, we've got a phase rush now, so we'll get to that later. But this time, Nibble's not going for the Arcane Comet on the Karma. He's actually opted for the Summon Airy.
Okay, that is different, and it almost shows a more defensive style, because the Comet makes sense. He's fully poking. And into the last game, when they were against the Sivir, it makes more sense because they have shorter range. Against the Caitlyn, you're going to get more punished when you go for these poke trades. So getting a bit of value, being able to almost nullify the Caitlyn's return damage at the same time, is likely the reason they've gone for the Aerie. Potentially they're a bit more scared of the full squishy enemy team, so if you can negate that initial burst, it's going to be a lot more in Bristol's favor.
Bristol once again on the blue side of the map, but the key thing that I do want to be bringing up, Refresh has a counter pick. Melvin, you asked for Exeter to give Refresh the counter pick. He has picked up an Irelia of all things. This has to be the pop-off game for Refresh. If he doesn't get a pop-off game, he probably won't get another chance to get one, and that will be the finals done. Money on the line as well. £200 Amazon voucher going to the winning team, £100 graphics design voucher as well, and just the £50 Amazon voucher going towards that second place team.
It is all to play for right here and now. Exeter need to show themselves up, and it needs to come off of the back of Refresh in this top lane. And frankly, I personally think it also needs to come off of Sana. They are now on this Corki, which is a lot more mobile than the Victor. They actually had some pretty good jukes last game. Like, I will most certainly give them credit for their fancy footwork, but it just got to a point where it didn't matter how fancy your feet were against the enemy comp. There's only so much you could do when a Yone can reposition a Taric stun onto you, so this game, at least they have a bit more counterplay in their pocket, so we might get to see another Sana pop-off.
Well, Sana is on the Corki. The key thing to remember, though, is this Corki won't be popping off until, we see 2, maybe 3 items are coming through. It's a bit of a snoozer fest until that point, whereas Chentang will be getting online at a much earlier point in the game.
Absolutely so. This Yone is pretty much deadly from level 3 and lethal from level 6. Sana, on the other hand, is pretty much resident sleeper until level 11, unless they have a package, which does mean around objectives they can get quite a lot done. But really, this is just going to be, don't lose lane, try and keep Yone accountable, because they have Ignite again, which means that Chentang is very reliant on being able to get these early kills. As we're going to get another pause, unfortunately, a couple tech issues, but, it's giving the teams time to think, I suppose.
And it's always weird for teams when you get into this stage, because you kind of just want the game to come through and get on with it, but now there's more time for doubt to fester, there's more time to think about things, and that's always not the best situation for a player's mental.
Certainly not, and it really just goes to show that this, if anything, makes it even harder for Exeter, because Bristol, they've been playing for quite a long time together, and more importantly, they have played in other leagues. Between this 2 top lane and the jungle, they have both got UKLC experience. they have played in the upper echelons of UK-based play. So they're going to be used to playing a lot of these best of series, are used to this kind of just pressure put on you of, okay, well, this is the do or die moment. Whereas on the other side, in a lot of the Newell and these other card tournaments, you don't get to that many best of threes unless you really truly show yourself as greatness. So heading into this one, Exeter have the moment to prove themselves and cement them in that final game coming up if they can win this one.
Exeter proved themselves in game 1. They took the win over Bristol. Games 2 and 3, they showed, they're a strong team, but they weren't quite able to match Bristol. And now, backs against the wall, do or die. This is a must-win game for them if they want to be able to take the SouthLAnder 2021 title. And as we mentioned before, all eyes are on Exeter's top laner, Refresh, on this Irelia. He needs to find something. He needs to make something work onto Effen's Malphite in this early game.
This is scary. Bot lane invade. Karthus walking up. This is going to be a 3v3 for the blue buff, and Karthus most certainly has a better level 1.
And out comes the Soul Flare. And there's just so much poker from Gadunica. Last blender, Mathiago unable to really step forward. The mid lane is not coming down to assist. So this is just well and truly a 3v3. Blue buff has been leashed towards a Trick 2-Deer, and it is smited down by Trick 2-Deer. Flash away from Mathiago as the Ignite is burning down. And that is a trade of Flash for blue buff. I don't know who really comes out of that on top.
This is very greedy from Gadunica to try and at least get something and take the Grump, but Exeter just wasting a lot of their time. While Mathiago is without Flash and Last also without Flash, Nibble had to blow both of their summoners. And this is actually going to put Gadunica quite far behind. They will be able to catch up, but considering Kha'Zix gets to farm their Grump and then farm their Wolves, they are definitely not going to be as far behind as they should be, considering Karthus now has to walk over and take Raptors, which is really not where they want to be for their first camp.
It's a great start to the game for Exeter. They have to win this game. Again, can't stress that enough. Trick 2-Deer having this advantage early on is huge for them. And actually, Trick 2-Deer's got off an early reset as well. Wait, he didn't get the Gromp.
They couldn't kill it by the looks of it, nor the Wolves. They actually... wow, just not having the smite, but let's take a quick pivot to the top side as Refresh has managed to get a big crash in top side onto this Malphite. And considering that Irelia in these early levels has way, way more power than the Malphite ever can, and the fact that both junglers have pretty much been landlocked to the bottom side of the map until now, we see Refresh actually getting off a Cheetah recall to get a Doran's Blade. I really, really like this. Effen doing their best to freeze the wave, but it is not going to work. They did manage to get the full crash, so this is going to push back in and put them in a real dire spot coming up for the next few levels.
And the terrible news for any Exeter fans is that Trick 2-Deer, he backed, but he didn't have any items. He can't buy anything. So actually, after all of that, he's behind Gadunica in terms of his clearing position. He's going to take down the bot side Scuttle Crab, but this has not worked out in the long run for Trick 2-Deer.
Certainly not. Will they be able to get anything off of this camp? I don't think that will even tag them to level 3 off of this Scuttle. If it did, they could at least maybe make a play onto Yone mid. Looks like they are going to be met, though, by Nibble, who's coming back from base.
Refresh has the Ionian further stack. Effen will be forced to flash away. Nibble now getting caught out, looking to turn things around onto Trick 2-Deer as the Soul Flare will be able to find the slow. Sana forced to use the Valkyrie out to safety. Trick 2-Deer still hovering around this mid lane. Don't forget, Gadunica not too far away.
This is so intelligent from Gadunica. Imagine to get the invade onto these Raptors, but have they overstayed their welcome? They kited up to the top side, leaving them in Kha'Zix's clutches.
Trick 2-Deer will step forward. Chentang now going in. Trick 2-Deer forced to flash over the wall. First blood still on the cards, but has not been claimed by either side.
And because the Kha'Zix made it around that corner, it looked like it was going to be a kill onto Gadunica, but the flash ignite from Chentang forces the trade flash from Trick 2-Deer. Summoner advantage back in Exeter's favor, but the farm, crucially, going over to Karthus, they're getting to accelerate. And this was a problem Gadunica had in their first game, where they did not get to clear through their jungle. So when they came back to their camps, there was still only level 1. But they've managed to clear the Raptors, they managed to clear the top side, so they are living pretty at this point. Trick 2-Deer is the one that's going to be behind on XP, and it means that they, after this red buff, are going to need to make something happen if they want to keep up with Gadunica's farm.
And this is such a huge CS advantage that we're seeing from Gadunica. It all looked like it had started so well from Exeter after they managed to stop the Bristol early invade, but then Trick2 attempted to take that Grom, was unable to do so, had to back, had to reset, wasn't able to pick up any items, and now finds themselves 10 CS down on Gadunica. We're also seeing on the top side a big CS advantage starting to form from Refresh. This is exactly what we needed. This is exactly what his team have asked of him, and Refresh is delivering so far.
Not only on top of that, they managed to get Effen's teleport at this point, meaning that the level 5 going on level 6 Malphite will not be able to join team fights, will not be able to make cross-map plays. And once again, Refresh getting to crash this wave in. It's not getting a massive lead, they're not getting kills, they're not getting plates, but they are keeping themselves in the game, they're building up an early lead, and they're getting to team.
Oh, teleport now coming through on the bottom side. I think this is Refresh joining in the fray. It's going to be a 4v2 scenario. Vanguard's edge, and Refresh picks up first blood for Exeter.
And that's coming off of the TP lead they got there. By forcing Effen under tower, they're able to make this cross map. And that means now Kha'Zix, while level down on the Karthus, he's going to get first access to the Dragon, has bot priority to be able to do it, and that is going to be able to swing them in the lead, because if we look at top lane, Malphite hasn't even got to crash these minions there. There's only going to be, what, going on 3 to 4 that Refresh is even going to miss off of this play?
Fate Seal coming through. A Mafia Go is going to get picked off. Flash away means the phase rush will allow Mafia to run out safety quicker. But again, Exeter unable to convert the advantage. Before it was Trick2 who made the misplay on Grob. And this time they looked towards the Drake, but they get zoned away from it by Chentang roaming down. And now it's Bristol who will be able to secure the first Drake of the game.
And it is a Cloud before Karthus has pressed R. In most games, a single Cloud Drake would not make much of a difference, but if you look at every ultimate on the Bristol Whip squad, these are the kind of ults you want to use off cooldown. Karma loves this Cloud Drake. It means that they could constantly be throwing out the mantra Qs in this lane to keep priority going. Sivir, enough said, if they're able to run, it's just a nice tool to have. Yone, Chentang has already shown they're willing to use this ability off cooldown to force a play. And then Karthus, once again, having that up. Malphite, same thing. Makes sense. But right now, as we look at the lanes, Refresh just collapsing, getting a bit of priority again, still managing to keep a CS lead, but hasn't been able to get much done in the lane itself. And with Chentang collapsing, I don't think they'll get much more done.
Trick2 not far away. The Flawless Duet will find one, but that is all. Refresh just going to get run down. Can't find the outplay. And Effen able to pick up a kill of their own.
And this is just coming off of using the roaming. Chentang so good at this. Almost Caps-like with just the pushing out the wave and then going to the side. Even with low resources themselves, they, using this Ignite, have so far got off more roams than Sana has had the chance to with the teleport. While Corki isn't exactly a roaming champion, even the point being is just a clear, noticeable just skill of Chentang to get stuff done.
Chentang playing so aggressively into Sana with the Soul Unbound, and Trick2 is just so far behind, 20 CS behind Gadunica on the Karthus. We saw this in the previous game. Gadunica on Karthus able to get such a huge CS lead over Trick2.
And this big trade that happened level 1 that put Trick2 behind has meant that they haven't been able to get these aggressive invades. Ooh, nice sidestep.
That's the Soul or the Fate Seal coming through. Chentang will take another tower shot. The Requiem will take Sana low. The Flash is no longer available, but Chentang, super low himself, will be forced to retreat.
My. Good play from Sana right there to keep himself alive. Does manage to barely dodge away from the sheer damage of Chentang. And it is deadly. Ooh,
oh, that's a flash forward. That's so aggressive. Ace in the hole is available for last, but won't look for anything further. That was so aggressive from the Exeter bot lane.
Yeah, I assumed they thought Mafia Goat would be in range, but maybe not realizing that they don't have the flash available, so they can't close that gap. Does make it really rough for them as the TP from Corki comes in right now. Looked like they were just setting up for a package play, but the ward in that bush means they do not get away with it, and Exeter do not get anything off of that flash, but Sana right now just fishing about.
It's good to see proactivity from the Exeter mid lane, and now Refresh in a 1v2 scenario. Refresh has actually lost his CS advantage. And Gadunica, I'm sure, will just be zoning Refresh away to prevent him from picking up this next wave that's about to crash on in.
Just a straight up dive threat. You can't do anything because of this.
There is the unstoppable force comes in. Refresh looking to turn things around, but will just get melted. Evan, one more tower shot would be enough. Oh, the package pushes Evan back into tower. And Sana picks up one, now looking for a second. Will be able to find it, but Sana's just going to be eating the layways. Can he find the sidesteps? The minion auto. One more comes in. Gadunica picks up the kill, and it is a 2-for-2 on the top side of the map.
And once again, Sana's really clean sidestepping isn't going to be enough heading into this one, as that almost managed to turn the play back into Exeter's favor. But crucially, Effen did manage to get the plate before that, and now Chentang getting the plates mid. The TP is not available for Sana. And we see right now the Rift Herald goes down. Which lane is Trick2D going to go to? Are they just going to pick up this mid farm? Are they even going to attempt a scuffle with Chentang? I don't think they should.
Benuxus and Nibble stepping up. Last spin, Mafigo have to play so defensive so they just don't get run down here. All summoners available for the Bristol bot side. But I want to go back to Refresh. We said he had to step up. He did step up. He got that early advantage over Effen. But there has been no traders. That is a lot of damage onto Mafigo. Didn't realize that he was standing on a ward. But back to the point of Refresh. He got the advantage, but he has had no love from the rest of his team. And he's just been bullied out now by Gadunika's gang.
And there's not much you can really do on your own against these two right there. You need support from the rest of your team, but the problem is, this bot side is just playing like their strong side. And Nibble and Benuxus are just doing such a good job of constantly having pressure. This ranged advantage for them is going to get them the first blood tower without even needing that Rift Herald. Gadunica doing pretty much the best ganks you can do as Karthus right now, just being there and saying, hey, I have my mythic, move.
Again, it's another good sidestep from Sana under tower. Can he find the damage? Requiem will surely be enough. The package, I should say the missile barrage cannot connect. And again, as you mentioned, you said this before, Melvin, the best gank is just Karthus pressing R.
And Gadunica really proficient on this champion. Effen actually stepping up right now, confident that they can win this trade, and frankly, with good reason. They've got the Tabbies, they have the Bramble, and the Bami's Cinder. This is the holy tank trinity that Irelia is just staring at and asking for a swift death.
Refresh was the one. He saw the matchup. He picked the Irelia. And yes, he was able to bully out Effen early on. But now that the plated steel caps are in, Nibble getting caught out. Pilled over Peacemaker. The Ignite ticking down. Can the trample connect? Yes, it can. Mafia Go picks up the kill. Vanguard's Edge coming through. Refresh wants a fight. Refresh has taken the fight. Flawless Duet will come through. But Effen is just going to absolutely clap a Refresh down and picks up the solo kill on the top side of the map.
And they did not have the Blade the Rune King available yet, but Benuxus is killing the assassin right here.
Trick2D will dash over the wall. The Drake Auto might have actually just come through and killed him, but Trick2D will be able to survive, and the Drake is secured. One Drake for both sides, but Benuxus is on the run. On the hunt comes through. Trick2D are forced to flash Chentang. Will he take the Soul Unbound over the wall? No, he will not. And all of a sudden, it's Bristol taking first tower, and it's on top side of the map once again. Effen find themselves with a lead.
Yeah, in this one-on-one matchup, Irelia has not been able to get a plate, and Malphite getting their first tower in this lane, taking it away. Effen once again, they did not even need much of a lead this time, but Gadunica just putting them ahead on this tank matchup, and Refresh, without the Blade the Rune King complete, was not able to win that 1v1, does end up going down and losing a whole lot of minions, whole lot of XP, a turret. And if we just look at the pressure that leaves on the map right now, the Rift Herald in the Kha'Zix's inventory did not get much done. As you can see, 3 towers still up for the Bristol squad, and really not much pressure being put on them.
Last is actually going to cancel his back so that he can catch this wave that is about to crash in. Currently 14 minutes into the game, and it's a 5,000 goal lead to Bristol. How have they picked up such a huge goal lead? I think it's just from tower plates. They were able to pick up the first tower on the bottom side at some point. Chentang not actually getting caught out. Sana thinking that they're going to find the pick, but it's Chentang who wants to take the fight. Flash away. And oh no, the Requiem in. Sana just surviving, but the burn is coming through. Can Sana heal up? Just about. And somehow Sana survives. SouthLAnder coming through onto Trick2D. He's forced to leap away, and now it's just a 2v1. Refresh surely can't get out of this one. Tries to Blade Surge. will drop down the flawless duet, sidestepped by Effen. And oh, the focus resolve comes through. Refresh and lockdown. Refresh will dash, but Refresh will get clapped. Effen picks up another kill.
And they're really doing everything they can on this Irelia, but you can't push up out of tower against just the coordination of this Bristol squad, showing their colors right now, very much executing well. Nibble is the newest member to this squad, but playing like they've been there the whole time, as Trick2D try to get something done in return.
Trick2D dashing forward, trying to nibble away at the health bar, but he will eat away at it, picks up the kill, and the full collapse comes through from the side of Exeter. 4-on-1. But Gadunka is making his way down, and the lay waste, as well as the wall of pain, means that somehow 2 is stronger than 4. Headbutt Pulverize comes in. The Mafia is just going to get absolutely run down. Lay waste, flash away by Mafia. Out comes the Valkyrie. Sana is going to be the focus down. There's teleport coming in, but Benuxis is here. So is Chentang. That's the killing spree for Gadunica. What can Refresh find? He finds one. He finds a shutdown, but that is all, and it is a 1-for-1 on the top side of the map. Pardon me, 2-for-1 on the top side of the map.
Irelia picking up the shutdown on the Karthus there does mean that AP threat for the team is out of the game, but right now, oh no. Oh no.
Engage coming through, head, but Pulverize. Oh my damn! Chentang with a 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, it looked like the scoot was going to stop them, but you cannot move Yone in that state as they end up just jumping in and dying with their ADC. And this bot lane, while they have been behind in gold, had not died yet, and that is the first time to the hands of Chentang and Benuxis. These two right now just passively picking up a lot of gold. The 104, 103 kill death assists. Not most the important part, it's if you look at the CS, and if we can take a quick look at the gold at some point, then you can really start to notice where it's coming through. Yep.
No, come on. The whole purpose of this draft was to stop Effen getting ahead, but he's on a Malphite with the most gold in the game. What?
You know, sometimes that's just how it is. You gotta fund the mountain, and Effen really does know how to pick up resources in
They
this lane.
haven't just funded the mountain. They've been like praying to the mountain. They've been giving offerings to the mountain. They've said, Effen, oh glorious mountain, here is this Irelia for you. We will sacrifice Irelia to you.
And frankly, it's just looked like sacrifice after sacrifice from Exeter, and they're not getting anything in return right now. Hunting for a play with Mafia Ghost and Last. Well, Mafia Goat, sorry, but they're going to feel like a ghost if they keep going in for some of these plays, as it has not been going too well. Right now, the bottom lane is where the action is.
The action is coming down, and it is a 4-on-2 Boomerang Blade. And you know what? Bristol say we won't go for both. We're just going to take one. We don't want to put our fingers in too many pies. It spoils it. We'll just have this one pie and enjoy the kill as Trick2D will fall, and Bristol turn their attention towards the Drake.
And with another Mountain Soul coming up in this series, it is going to be a terrifyingly killer. Oh no.
Oh no, the Requiem is coming through as well, and Last will fall. Sun is going to be the next on the menu. Retreats under the safety of the tower. Refresh is here, but to be honest, Refresh is just a glorified minion at this point. 2 and 5. Has the Blade of the Ruined King available, but I should take that back, because if you disrespect an Irelia, you can find yourself getting severely punished for it.
3 autos, and at that point, they could start to threaten a kill into any of the squishies.
Oh no, Refresh. Well, while Refresh could be a threat, never mind, the turnaround comes through. Gadunica will go gold, and surely Trick2D just picks up the kill, flashes out instantly to keep themselves alive, and it is just 1 going the way of Exeter.
The top jungle does manage to pick something up for Exeter right then, getting the desperation plays that they need. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to kill the Malphite after picking up that form mail, but Chentang, they're still squishy. Immortal Shield.
I know 2-on-1 sounds good, but it's not actually good, Exeter. And Chentang almost able to pick up that 1 kill onto Trick2D, and now is just waiting, saying, Refresh,
No.
I dare you. I dare you to step forward. And now Effen and Nibble are here. Oh no, this is going to be the clapping round 2. In goes Refresh, but Refresh will just get bounced around as if he's in a pinball machine. And it's another kill from the side of Bristol, and they look for more, and they find more.
And Sana, you cannot sidestep these abilities. I'm sorry to tell you, but they do what they can with this fancy footwork, but it is not allowed. When you're against a Malphite, you have to flash it. There's nothing that could be done there for that bot lane. Both of them end up falling, and once again, gold in the pocket of this Malphite. They are doing insane things with this just sheer lead. Nobody on the enemy team can kill them. The only AP threat isn't AP, it's Corki's magic damage, and guess what? He needs to auto for that. He needs to be hitting them with abilities, and against the Malphite, you don't really get the chance.
I'm going to be honest here, Melvin. We're 20 minutes into this game. It's a 10k goal lead. You and I, we've both had the pleasure of being able to cast on some Telemasters for Resolve lately. And honestly, right now, Exeter would need a bigger turn than what Resolve have been able to find. Exeter would need the Genax of a turns. That's what Exeter need right now. And honestly, it's going to be so hard for them to find.
It frankly just comes down to Bristol messing up something with this Baron. This is your best opportunity to do it when your magic damage gets shredded, and because magic resist, gets shredded when you stand in front of Baron, and then it would be on Sana to do stuff. But right now they're just getting ran down by the rock, and you know what?
Teleport is coming through. Can they cancel it? Of course they can. And Effen goes on to a rampage. 5-1 on the Malphite.
Crucially, Sana, with the attempted escape, is going to use the teleport, meaning they won't have it to get to this Baron. They do not have package available just this moment, and Refresh is on the bot side, proxy farming, but you know what? You can't proxy farm Baron minions, and that's looking like what the case is going to be very shortly.
Well, Exeter not going to try to steal this Baron away. The Baron will be secured, and Chentang spots out a certain Mafia go. The Pulverize comes through, the Headbutt comes down, and Chentang will have to retreat without any kills. Meanwhile, Refresh and Trick 2D, instead of taking tower, they're proxy farming a wave when nobody's in lane.
They try force on whoever comes to collect the wave, but they're going to be sorely disappointed when it's a Malphite.
It's the full clapping coming through, but look how big Effen is. The Requiem is damn impressive. Effen now looking to find 3 kills in a 1v3. Trick 2, dear. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Oh, that's yeah. Rock solid by Evan in chat.
I shouldn't laugh, but I just have to. I think this is game over. I think this is Exeter admitting defeat because Bristol are on to the inhibitor. Bristol have taken down the inhibitor. They will push as a 4 in the mid lane. Make that 5 because there is a teleport coming through as well. 5 seconds for Refresh to respawn. 9 seconds for Trick to Dare. And the first Nexus tower will fall. And for now, Bristol will retreat.
And they are playing this safer than safe can be right now, as Exeter is just asking for some attempt to get back into the game, but look at the level leads. It is almost impossible at this point. Ooh, yeah, when you look across the map, it gets worse and worse, frankly, as Exeter, they do have this super wave to farm. They're going to have minions that they can try and pick up, but that is another mounting that is likely going to go in the pocket of Bristol, unless they're actually just waiting to cheese the Exeter squad out there.
I mean, is there any point even talking over this? Okay. Oh, I forgot. Chentang literally, for those people who don't know how Yone works, essentially he dashes out of his soul, and then when he dashes back, it triggers effectively a Z ultimate. So Chentang was just holding on to that and was like, haha, now you go, boom, and killed him.
Which did also get Nibble's flash, so you know, not exactly the most cooperative way to work, but yeah.
He essentially said, oh, look, Nibble, you're a support. You don't get kills. Here's a kill for you. Go flash for it. Flashes, and then Chentang just like, no.
All right, well, I'm going to give you the most silver of linings right now, because you can notice that Sana has picked up 2 items now. They have the Mirror Mana and the Essence Reaver. Both very much buffed items. They're very strong. The only thing is, it's only 2 items, and Malphite has 3. And he's building into Azonias.
Malphite's actually building Azonias.
Yeah, take
I mean,
that
I
how
guess
you
it
will.
gives them some AP. Either way, there's going to be an inhibitor tower being destroyed on the bottom side of the map. And Bristol will push on in. There is nothing Exeter can do right now. They need to find a pick. They need to find a god-tier engage. In fact, a god-tier engage might not even be enough. 5 members of Bristol collapse on into the final Nexus Tower. It's now or never for Exeter. But never mind, Bristol will take the engage themselves. Bristol will find one. Bristol will find two. Effen will finally fall. Refresh, can he pop off? And the answer is no. Chentang will delete the remaining members of Exeter. It's only the Nexus standing. Mafia Goat will fall. It's a triple kill for Gadunica. And it is game, set, and match for Bristol.
And that is it. Exeter bite the dust. That is going to be the prize handed over to Bristol. They earned it. They ramped up throughout this series, getting better and better with every game that passed. And the unstoppable Bath machine cannot be done. Bristol machine.
Bristol, well, they took down Bath last week, and they take down Exeter this week. They will be taking home the £200 Amazon voucher and a very nice £100 graphics design voucher. And let's be honest, easily the deserved winners of the series today.
Certainly so. I think we can cut to the chase and just say that it's going to be Effen probably taking home
Yes.
the MVP.
Yep.
As
In
it very
fact,
much...
Exeter, give him the entire £200 Amazon voucher. Honestly, we know Mountains are strong, but he literally just threw the entire team on his back. I mean, to be fair, Chentang was very good as well, but Effen, what a performance. What a performance.
Exeter definitely did what they could. Sana was a real highlight throughout that series,
Yes.
doing what they could when they were taken off of the Yone, but not able to get the same amount done. They had some nice footwork, but really didn't get to do the same effectiveness as Chentang did on that Yone. It was pretty disgusting. In the last game, the experience of Bristol, not Bath, Bristol, really shone through as they used that just knowledge and the way to play around weird game states to get that initial invade. It goes wrong, but just putting Exeter in a pretty uncomfortable situation is sometimes all you really need when you're a more experienced team, and they were.
And Melvin, we were talking about silver linings. Another silver lining is you were not the cause for Exeter losing 3-1 in all of their finals. It's just an Exeter thing, it seems. And I think that final game, the moment that decided that game was literally two things, I feel, which were at the start of the game, Trick 2D trying to take a Grant when he was low, unable to do so, and then instead of being about 6 CS up on the Carthus, being about 10, and then, well, after refresh, getting that lead, teleporting down, finding the kill. Yes, Effen was able to close up the CS gap, but Trick 2D was just not there for refresh. And I don't want to blame refresh because this game, we said, it's on refresh to find a lead. He did find a lead, but he had no assistance from his team to convert the lead.
And it's just one of those things that the enemy team was playing so well as a unit, it's hard to combat that, as Corky doesn't really have the same roaming pressure compared to. You saw they tried to get an initial play with the package into the bot side, but the good vision control from the Bristol bot lane meant that that play was sniffed out ahead of schedule and avoided. You saw that there were attempts from Trick 2D to get stuff done in these lanes, but when you're a Kha'Zix behind and your jungle is constantly being threatened by the Karthus, it is a war on two fronts that they could not take down, and it is truly just the top side and frankly the whole of Bristol that just individually know what they're doing as a team, and it is that strong cohesive unit that ends up taking the win today for SouthLAnder.
Fantastic victory to come through from Bristol. Swansea were your CSGO winners from yesterday, but that is everything from Season 2 of SouthLAnder 2021. If you want to stay up to date with everything SouthLAnder related, make sure to follow over on Twitter, UOSVGE, if I'm not mistaken. I've been Milky Cyril. You can catch me on Twitter at MilkyCyril73, and I've been joined by the absolutely wonderful Melvin Is All, who you can catch on Twitter, I think, at Melvin Is All, right?
Melvin Is All lol, indeed.
Melvin Is All lol. Either way, for myself and Melvin, thank you guys so much for tuning in. But that is all that we have at time for today. Stay tilt-proof on the Rift, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
of my heart. I black out the moon. I wait for you to come around. You got me dancing in the dark. I've closed my eyes, but I won't sleep tonight. Baby, you should come with me. I'll take you to the dark side. Me and you and me, do bad things in the nighttime. Baby, you should come with me, and we can kill the lights, hit the lights, let it black out, hit the lights, let it black out. Blackbird, black moon, black sky, black light, black